Let's talk about vibe coding. This is the vibe coding guy. I tried to get Nano Banana to make me in this image. I'll share with you later what it created. It just everyone was like raving about it. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be easy. I go in there, it's like, no, it's like, it did not do it. Anyway, so just a quick overview of what we're gonna do today. We are gonna break it up into three sections really. The first section is we're gonna talk about just like an overview of vibe coding and starting out with good requirements. Because, you can type whatever you want into the vibe coding tool, but the quality of what you type in is going to impact the quality of what you get out. So we're going to spend time talking about that. We're actually going to give people about 20 minutes to create a simple product brief doc or optimize the one they've got if they have one. And then we'll stop and reconvene. And then we'll have a vibe coding. That's where we're going to really do vibe coding. By the way, if you're ready to roll in part one, you don't have to wait for part two. Like last time we did this, a lot of people finished their brief in like 10 minutes and they started vibe coding. So you can jump in and vibe code. We're going to cover the overview of the vibe coding tools in part two, but don't let us hold you up. Go for it. It's all good. We're going to share our advice, and then we're going to have a longer session where people can really vibe code and iterate. And then we may sync up and try to regather. We may just have one long session. And then at the end, if you want, we have a Google Sheet that's linked from the master doc. Actually, there's a link too, bit.ly/sep-demo. If you want a demo at the end, you have to put your URL there. Basically, you can publish, you'll see, we'll talk about in a minute. You can publish your prototype URL to a public URL, and then you just put it in that. Because we're all going to demo from my laptop up here if you want a demo, right? So last time we had over 60 submissions, and we stayed late, and we did like 19 demos. So we cranked. So that's why if you're wondering why we started a bit earlier today, that's why. Because we went to like 10:30 last time. And I felt bad not doing more demos, but everyone was kind of, running out of gas at that point. So anyway, that's the high level agenda. All right. Now I know vibe coding, it hasn't been around for too long. Some people may be more familiar with than others. Some people may not know much about it. In fact, most of the people here I asked in the registration and they're like, hey, I've heard of it, but I haven't really done much with it. Right. So just a couple of funny memes here. Don't know what this vibe coding is. At this point, I'm too afraid to ask. Like, you don't want to look dumb, like asking, oh yeah, I know what that is. Oh yeah, I vibe code. Oh yeah, all the time. I'm always vibe coding, right? Or I'm a Star Wars fan, so I have to get this one in. It's like, I love vibe coding. Me too. I love to code with some chill music and coffee. That's what it is, right? Right? That's not what it is, right? And it's funny. I was just remembering now. A couple of days ago, I was at a conference. I was talking to someone, and they thought like vibe was some special programming language or something. They're like, vibe coding. Oh, what's that? Right? I'm like, okay, right. So anyway, just so we know the origin, just so everyone's grounded on it, right? It was coined by Andrej Karpathy, one of the OpenAI co-founders, in this tweet. And it's a long tweet, but let's just read the first sentence. There's a new kind of coding called vibe coding, where you fully give into the vibes, man, and embrace exponentials, right? Whatever that means, and forget that the coding. Now I know what he means by embrace exponentials. There's a curve that shows like what the AI productivity is, and it's an exponential curve, basically. So he was kind of getting into that, right? So we don't need to read the rest of it, but I just want you to guess, and some of you may know, like, how old is this tweet? Is it like a month old? Is it a year old? Is it, it's basically, it's from February 2nd. So it's less than 8 months old. So if anybody tells you, yeah, I've been vibe coding for 10 months, you can just call BS on them right there, right? So it's all good. It's all good. So it's very new. So, and I hosted an AI speaker, and they're like, the AI train hasn't left the station, but is about to leave the station. So like, now's the time to get on. So good on all of you for joining in, jumping in and learning something new. And they're basically like, you can either get on the AI train or you can get run over by the AI train. So let's all get on the AI train. And the way I like to couch what the tools that we're going to provide today allow you to do is with kind of my old workflow that I recommended, and then like showing you how vibe coding tools can enable a new workflow. So the workflow that I'd like to describe it talking about fidelity of the artifacts, like how closely it resembles the final product, and interactivity of the artifacts. And you can think about like the UX artifacts, right? And you can think about all our PRDs and user stories and stuff like living here, and we're jumping in, to do some visual design, to do some UX design. The lowest fidelity, lowest interactivity is a hand sketch. And these are great for a team to kind of get the original idea down. You can iterate here until you kind of align on the concept. If you want to take it up a notch, then you can go to wireframes, right? Wireframes are low fidelity. We usually don't worry about color and things like that, but you can have clickable or tappable ones. I'm a huge fan of Balsamiq. I've been for a long time. Everybody here use Balsamiq, right? So it's funny because like, Photoshop kind of came and went, and Sketch came and went, and Figma's the top dog now, but Balsamic's always been there for the whole time, like owning that low fidelity space, right? And that's the great place. You can actually test with customers here if you want to test like layout and information architecture and flows, and like, are we missing a key feature or not? My favorite place to test is here. Has always been here, clickable mockups. When people hire me to apply the lean product process as a consultant, we usually jam there and we create high fidelity mockups. These days, Figma is the go-to tool. Back in the day, we'd use InVision, right? We take our images from our designer and hook up all the hot spots in InVision. But this is where if you rinse and repeat here, like with waves of customer, and you get to the point where it's like, hey, no one's complaining about it and they really love it, you can very confidently move on to coding then, right? Like the whole point of lean is like, let's validate things before we go and write the big engineering check of like actually writing it. Because once we write the code, we never get that time back. We never get that dev time back, right? And I do recommend testing live product as well. So this is the old workflow, right? And a slide, this next slide I've had where I talk about the design gap, I've actually had this slide I created in 2006 in one of my first talks that I ever gave. So it predates my book by a lot. And it comes from what I realized working with so many companies is a lot of companies have a design gap. I just asked at the summit yesterday, I'll ask you guys, and we got a big laugh. Who here feels like they have adequate design resources for their product team? Who feels like they do? Wow. So this is 3 more hands in my audience yesterday. Like not a single person raised their hand yesterday, right? So here we had 3 people raise their hands, right? And so I call this the design gap. And what I do is at a high level, I talk about there's the defined steps where like PMs would typically be the ones of like, who's our customer? What are their needs? Let's prioritize things, design the UX and developing. And there's like a maturity model. And the lowest maturity model is this, hey, we have engineers. Because without engineers, nothing gets built or coded or shipped. And there's a lot of startups, especially here in the Valley, that are operating at this level 1, right? So there's no one working on define or design explicitly. Level 2 is, hey, in addition to an engineer, now we have a PM, which is great. Now we're doing definition, but neither one of them is really a designer. And so it's going to show in the product, right? It's not going to have a good UX design. Now, maybe maybe the PMs kind of learned a lot about UX design. Maybe they're doing a little bit of Figma. They can help close the gap somewhat. Or maybe the engineer is like a front-end engineer is leaning into UX design. They can help close the gap somewhat, right? Or maybe between the two of them, level 4 is, hey, between the two of them, they can kind of get by and make do with what a designer would do, right? Frankly, this is how Intuit was so successful for the longest time, because Intuit's been around since the DOS days. Before designers were even like a real job description, that's how they got by and won market share against Microsoft, because the PMs and the engineers care enough about the UX design. And then obviously level 5 is we've got the trio, we've got PM, UX, engineering all working together. Everybody's skilled. And so obviously I'd always rather be at level 5, but for various reasons, you may have a design gap. Maybe your team's understaffed, or your design ratio is low, or someone's out sick, or your project isn't a high enough priority compared to the other projects, right? Well, in the old days, what would you do? You'd have to just basically skip design or skip prototyping. But that's the cool thing about vibe coding now is you don't. So vibe coding can now empower teams that do not have a prototyper or a designer to actually create prototypes now, or create them more quickly. So here's my new workflow where you can jump straight to here with a live prototype, right? It's really high fidelity, high interactivity. I used to, in the old diagram, every once in a while I'd call it like an HTML, CSS prototype. It was very rare that someone would take the time to create that, but now it's so easy. And so you can test there and then validate and go to live product, right? So that's really what it empowers. That's why I'm excited about it. And I created a framework since the July hackathon, because there's so many tools out there and people ask me, which one should I start with? How do I think about these? So I created a framework that I call the vibe coding spectrum. And it's been pretty popular when I've been sharing it on LinkedIn. And the main axis is less technical to more technical, right? That's the main axis from left to right. And I'll go through some of these. So the first category, the idea is each column is kind of a category of similar tools. Are these tools here, magic patterns? And magic patterns we're going to be using today. Figma Make. Does anybody use Figma Make here? Maybe if you use Figma, you probably use that one, right? And these honestly, I'm going to talk about what the UI is. These are browser-based. These are all browser-based. And I'm going to talk about who's the ideal kind of profile. Who are they designed for? These are optimized for designers, right? Not that PMs can't use them. Anybody can use the tool, but I'll explain in a minute why they're optimized for designers. The next category, Bolt and Lovable, these are also browser-based. I think their kind of sweet spot is more PMs, right? Again, there's overlap. These are not black and white bands. These tools basically play nice with Figma. You can import from Figma, export from Figma. You can bring in your design system. You can work with components, things like that. Things that a product manager may not care about as much about, right? And then the next level up is Replit and V0. They're a little more technical than Bolt and Lovable. And then we get to the next category, which are IDE extensions. So these are all Visual Studio Code, which is the IDE from Microsoft that most people use, a lot of people use. There are just various plugins, if you will, that you can use there, right? And now we finally get to the developer kind of centric tools. And the next layer up is actually a desktop app, right? So Visual Studio Code is a desktop app. Cursor and Windsurf are forks of that. So if you go use them, they're going to look and feel like Visual Studio Code. They've just actually modified the code to make the app itself AI aware. So that's the difference between using one of them. Kiro is from Amazon. It's based on the open source version of Visual Studio Code. They had it publicly available, and then they yanked it. They're probably going to bring it back soon. And then finally, the hardest core tools are the command line tools. So if you've heard of Claude Code, some people confuse Claude and Claude Code. Claude is just, Claude and Claude Sonnet, and it's what's offered by Anthropic. Claude Code is actually a specific command line tool that you can use. Obviously, it uses Claude as the LLM, and it's Claude Sonnet or whatever you want to use. Cursor has their own command line. Gemini has one. There's Iterate, right? So this is the kind of the way I like to characterize this. And even in my workshop that I used, it predicted something. We were talking about like the Git integration, and we started looking at Bolt's Git integration, and it was basic. It wasn't that advanced. And then we went to Magic Patterns. It was even more basic. And then we went to Replit, and Replit gave you kind of the functionality, the flexibility you would want to do the kind of things that you want. So it kind of predicted, for example, even just what the Get feature set was like for those. And so we're going to be playing around, in these two columns. We have tools. We have Lovable. Bolt was the last time. I'll give a quick overview of Bolt just in case somebody's going to use Bolt. And then we're going to cover Magic Patterns. So the idea, we like to mix up the tools so people can try different tools and check them out. All right. And then one distinction I like to make is a lot of people, they'll be like, oh, vibe code. You can't put that on production. It's vibe code. What about the quality? What about the security? And so I'm like, okay, but part of the fallacy is like, did you ever expect to put it on production code, right? And so I like to distinguish between vibe prototyping and vibe coding, right? In vibe prototyping, I have like no expectation we're going to use any of this code. It's just a faster way for me to get to a high fidelity, high interactivity prototype that I can test with customers. It's a faster way for me to get my team aligned on what the concept is. That's what really it is, right? So it's almost like there's two distinct use cases, and people like to look down at vibe coding if you're doing it over here, that like hardcore engineers or something, they look down on it. But you got to realize it's a different use case. Now, increasingly, these two use cases are coming together, right? Because gosh, wouldn't it be great if whatever we did do here would be easy to just pump into our code base? That would be great. And people are starting to realize that would be good. And, and there are things you can do about it. And Bolt actually announced that for their version 2, which they have a waitlist for, they're planning to better address that use case of how do we take this and put it in there. And you're seeing features come up again and again. And, even when I ran a hackathon and I did a private workshop, and everybody used Bolt, and they just made their prototypes. And then after 5 minutes, like, oh, hey, wouldn't it be great if these prototypes, instead of having random color palettes, had our branding from our company? Like, they didn't think about it, right? Like, sure, that'd be great, right? So now you go back and you do that. Same thing, you can use existing libraries and things like that. So it's really easy to vibe code. That being said, one does not simply vibe code a great product. You don't just go in there and type in a couple of queries and you have the next Airbnb or the next Instagram or anything like that, right? So I would argue when it's really easy to build things, that the product thinking that Jorge was talking about, that becomes even more critical. So product fundamentals become more critical, right? Somebody about 2 or 3 weeks or so ago, they sent a tweet and say, on our team, we don't do PRDs anymore. We just vibe code. I'm like, okay, what do you type into the vibe code chat prompt? If you don't want to call that text a PRD, that's fine. But if it's a one sentence thing, yeah, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? So you'll see that all the best advice, even on the technical side, is give the tool as much context as you can so that it can create that, right? And so that's where product management fundamentals just come in. I won't go into it in detail, but that's where, again, the framework for my book, the product market fit pyramid, which is the lean product process, we should be starting. When you think about vibe coding, it's just doing 4 and 5, right? And the number of companies or startups that have jumped straight to solution space and just coded something and built it and launched it and had it fail is humongous, right? And so we don't want to make that mistake, which a trap you can fall into because it is so easy, is be an easy trap to fall into. So we want to make sure we're clear on this stuff. So the product brief that we're going to do is going to make sure we're founded in that. Last thing I want to cover is the idea of problem space versus solution space. Who's heard problem space here before? Hopefully a lot of people. Good. Yeah, cool, right? So I've been talking about it for a while. That's great. So they're like two sides of the same coin, but we want to separate them. Problem space is basically a customer problem, need, or benefit that the product should address. You're trying to stay away from any solution or feature or technology at all, just focusing on what the customer problem is. I'm sure a lot of people here know the user story template as a blank, I want a blank so I can blank, right? That last part, so I can, that's really the essence of problem space. Why is this going to be valuable to a customer? Why would they care about it? That's the idea. In contrast, solution space is a specific implementation or design to address the need, right? Let's say on this side, I felt like on the problem space, I feel like, it's just too hard to share photos with your friends. I want to make it easier to share photos with your friends. That statement is a problem space statement. I said what problem I want to solve. I didn't say how I'm going to solve it. You might have assumed I was going to build an app or something, but I didn't say that I was, right? If the very next thing I said was, yeah, last month I launched an app that makes it easy to share photos with your friends, that app would be in the solution space. Or if I haven't coded anything, but a friend of mine was a designer and she gave me a set of mockups, that set of mockups will be in solution space. So that's the idea. So we want to start in the problem space. And we're going to want to get clear on these things. Who's our customers? What problems can we solve? Then the next question is, if we've got 20 possible customer problems, how do we prioritize which one's the biggest opportunity? That's where I won't get into it, but that's where my importance versus satisfaction framework can be useful to prioritize. And then how are we going to be better than the competition, the value prop? Then, because the tools, you did need to tell them about the solution, right? We'll get into the functionality. And so we're going to get into what features should we include. This is where it's really important to decide what's in scope versus out of scope, right? Some people get really excited and they write this 80-page PRD and they paste it in. These tools are kind of like human brains. They can't remember 80 things at once. So by the time it's on like item 60, it's forgot about the first 20. So part of the art here is how do you feed it enough information, but not too much? How do you sequence the work in a logical way? And then how should the features work? And then this is something, it may start to seem or feel a little engineering wise, but I would argue it's more UX wise. Like what's the object model? You have a customer, they have an account, they have these things, they have these, like what are the entities that we're talking about? That can be helpful. And then you can specify the UX, right? What flows do we need to enable? What design principles? What kind of visual design do we want? So it's good to have a product brief template. So I have one here for you all. If you want to use it, it's a free Google Doc. It predates vibe coding. It's kind of what I would always give my clients, especially my startup clients, at the fuzzy front end of any project, as a way to answer those basic questions, right? I meant to share this. Okay, cool. So when we did our vibe coding hackathon, is it the other way? We went that way. Okay, cool. We actually got covered in the news last time. So it's on the San Francisco Business Times. Vibe coding is hot, but could threaten some tech jobs. Watch out. Alarmist. And then this is the founder of Rue. So Rue was in my vibe coding spectrum. I actually like that tool a lot. It's pretty cool. It's open source. And I didn't realize that he basically, I figured it was just some engineers. He actually had like a small veterinary business and he wanted to like vibe code something. So he ended up creating this vibe coding tool. So anyway, let's see our meetup. There's some people hacking at our meetup last time. There's guys living in the future with the Vision Pro. He was sitting right there. We're all living in the past. Here's the not so great photo of me at the top. I don't know why. That's what they picked. Anyway, so we got covered last time. So I was excited about that. That was pretty cool. What else was it going to? Oh, I was going to pull up the actual doc. Yes, let me pull up the vibe. Let me click on the doc and show you what you get when you click on that. Then you'll get this vibe coding brief template, right? And it's yours to clone. So you can just go in here and go file, make a copy, and then that's your copy. And then you fill it out. So that's what we're going to do in the first exercise is fill this out. Now, some people are doing this solo. Some people are with the team. So now what I want to do, I want to put the cake in the oven. What do I mean by that? It's like a baking show. I want to pull up a product brief that I have and just queue it up so that way we can see what it comes up with, because it takes a little time when you first do the first one. So give me 1 sec. I'm going to put it in, and you'll see the biggest learning that I had was people were reluctant to just, they like had their PRD, they're looking at the vibe coding chat box, like, like just copy, paste, return. Like that's what you want to do, just like let you know. Okay, that's what we're gonna. I just want to show you that real quick. Brief. There we go. Sample brief. There it is. Okay, cool. Example. Okay, cool. So here's the example. I just want to show you so you can see. Okay. So I just created like a sample brief for a road mapping tool. Kind of small. Let me make it bigger. All right. All I did is I kept it pretty simple, pretty generic. Just like, hey, I want to make a road mapping tool. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this and put it on the clipboard. That's all you're going to do later. Okay. Copy. And then I'm going to go, I'm just going to do it in, well, we can do Lovable, whatever. It's too Lovable.
It's a lot of tabs.
I know. All right, ready? So I just paste it in there and I hit the button. That's all you got to do. When you're staring into the headlights, just do that. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Super easy to do. Okay, that's it. Okay, now that's going. That's why I want to put the cake in the oven so I can look at it later. What we're going to do is you can also do vibe PRD. So when we do this first section, you know, what I recommend is that you take a quick draft, a stab at a quick draft of your PRD. Don't try to make it perfect. And then you can try to use, you know, whatever ChatGPT, whatever LLM you want to augment it. You can say, hey, who would be likely? You can just say, how would you improve this? What did I miss? Right? You can ask it whatever you want. Like, what else should I add? You know, what other feature ideas do you have? What other segmentation do you have? What other problems do you have? You can just ask all these kind of questions. And there's also a link to these questions from the master doc. So if you want to, you know, if you want to get that later. And I just want to show you the difference. Like here, I asked Bolt, I just gave it, you know, that simple query, create a product road mapping tool. And it just created this. And at first, you're like, it's okay. Then I'm like, well, gosh, these are big. Like you only fit 8 things on your roadmap on a screen. That's pretty bad, right? So then I actually, you know, that thing, that the one I just showed you, that brief that I just showed you, when I filled it out and gave it that, I got this a little bit better, right? Like, hey, now I can have, you know, a little bit of a Gantt chart. I can move things around. I've got themes, right? So again, the more context you give it, the better the output it's going to be. Cool. All right. Let's jump in here. And last thing I want to bring up before we get started here is just that when you iterate, you know, you basically like you're heading in a certain direction based on your product brief. You have these assumptions about your customer and the problems you're going to solve. And then you vibe code, and then you basically get your vibe code. Even before you show customers, you're going to realize, oh, I forgot to put the brand colors in or something, or, oh, I forgot to mention this. I forgot to, right? So by just going through this process and seeing your first prototype is going to make you go back and say, oh, I need to update that product brief. We forgot some things that we did. In fact, the workshop that I just ran that was private, one team, I was very proud of them. They had their engineers, designers, and PMs. So they wrote a very nice spec, very good, like very thoughtful. They put it in. They realized they were missing a few key things. So they went back to their product brief, they updated it, and then they just started a new chat. They didn't try to fix the old one. You can always just nuke from orbit and start again. Like these things are just throwaway. There's no big deal at all. So, you know, if you ever get stuck or whatever, you can always do that. And then the new one that they had, I was just blown away by Bolt. This is part of why I like it, is it had a 4-level deep UX. What do I mean by that? It had a dashboard page that had some doctors on it. When you clicked on a doctor, it went to the doctor's profile page. On the doctor's profile page, it had a list of patients. When you clicked on a patient, it went to the patient profile page, and it would have like sessions, recordings of their sessions. I'm like, that's a 4 deep UX. That's pretty freaking cool from this really thought out PRD that it was done. In fact, it was so realistic. On the last page of the sessions, it had like it was like a video recording of the session, and it had just grabbed some, you'll see these things are great about just grabbing sample data or providing sample data. It had created like a little video frame with the play button. One of the engineers was like, hey, click the play button. Let's watch the video. Like he didn't realize it was like a static picture. Like he was the engineer on the team, right? He was so excited. He's like, whoa, let's do the video. So that it was just cool. So anyway, you're going to learn by going back and forth. Like you're dancing, right? So you're using the first few versions of that thing you're using. You're going to be refining your problem space. Feel free to start over again. Okay, we're going to go to our first working session. I'm going to shut up. We're going to get going. So we have about 20 minutes to work on our product brief. So let's do a quick debrief. How was this? Any challenges? Any questions? We have Mike. Just you can raise your hand if you want, and here we go. All right.
So I created PRD earlier this afternoon, and then I put it into Lovable. Is it better if it doesn't give you what you want to update your PRD and then put it back in, or just keep adjusting?
That's a great question. PRD, and I put it in, and I'm not so happy with what came out. I would say what matters is how big a magnitude of a miss was it. If it was a complete miss, then yes, go back to the drawing board. If it was a major miss, go back to the drawing board. It'll only be like if it's like a little 10-15% tweak. I would say try to fix it. But that's one of the judgment things you're going to have to decide is it worth going down this path? Because you can only steer about 10-15 degrees off that path. So it's like, is it better? Am I close enough, or should I just go back and start over again? It sounds like you should probably go back and start over again. So, but that's a great question. Good general advice for everybody. If you realize, it's not quite what I want, you can start over again. Yeah, great question. Other questions or comments? Who used an LLM to make their PRD better? Awesome, cool. Did it make it better for most people? Okay, all right, cool. Awesome. Okay, just quick advice. If you have not pasted your stuff into your Vibe coding tool, please do it right now. You can let it cook in the oven, bake in the oven. Oh, speaking of which, let's go look and see what mine did. I got my cake that I made. Remember that thing that I had it do? Let's find it. Oh, here it is. Okay. So remember I put the cake in the oven with that product brief? Here's what I got. Oh, it's yellow. There's something with that screen, yellow. But just so you guys know real quick, somebody was like off in code. They were in Lovable and they were in code view and stuff. This is the view that you want, right? You want to have this is whack. It's not yellow on my screen. I don't know why it's yellow here. But this is your prototype, and this is your chat window. That's the main operating mode you want to be in. You can look at code and things like that, and we'll cover that in a second, but that's the idea. All right, so hopefully you didn't get a bright canary yellow thing like I did. All right, it's not yellow on the screen. Cool. All right, let's keep going. So what we're going to do now is we kind of threw you into the pool and said, go play around with Lovable or Magic Patterns. Now what we want to do is take the time to actually teach you the tools a little bit, give you a little bit of an overview, make you a little more dangerous. And then I want to introduce Jorge from Zentric, who helps me plan these events. He helped me with July. You're going to see him giving some advice on vibe coding. So please join me in welcoming Jorge, CEO of Zentric. Here you go, bud. He's going to give us an overview of Lovable and share some vibe coding tips.
So absolutely, please continue typing away. I only ask that you keep conversations to a minimum, but do continue interacting with Lovable. The best way to learn is to actually do the thing that we're seeing on a screen.
Yep.
We really like Lovable and want to take the extra moment to thank them as well for coming so quick as a sponsor. All right, so what we're building with any of these tools, and by any I mean Lovable, Magic Patterns, Vault, V0, most of these are serverless web apps. They cannot build any products. They can only build a certain type of products, web applications, and in particular, they all use one same stack, is TypeScript. But what this means is that it is really a front-end. So it doesn't have a easy capability to connect to external APIs, to scrape a website for you. Those things need to be done through integrations. Because of this, I encourage you to start with mock data. So rather than trying to connect to all of those APIs, just tell it to create a little object, a little file that has all of that information that you need from your data model, so that you can build on top of that. And when you're ready to plug in an API, you will use a different tool, or you will connect it to Supabase, which is the integration that Lovable has, and you'll be able to actually have it fully working. So focus on the front end, be okay with using mock data, and don't start with things that do not add value. Don't start just focusing for 2 hours on the authentication or a connection with databases if what you want is to demonstrate value with something that a user can touch. With that, let me just take you through the interface. Most of you have already played with it a little bit during the last while, but the main difference is that you may not get to touch today is the voice mode, which I'm a big fan of. I think it just uses Whisper. So if you have Whisper Flow on your computer, it's more or less the same. And if you, now that you have a Works Pro version, at least for a month, or those that use the Lenny code made for a year, make sure to put it in Workspace unless you want your demo to be public for everybody. But if you're going to submit for today so that we can review and award the best demos, put it in public so that we can actually see it. Good. You can attach, and you should attach files if you have anything available. That may be design inspiration from a website that you like and that you want to replicate in terms of styling or layouts. And you can see a lot of very good examples there at the top in the Launched tab. It is like a product hunt thing that they do every week where you can see the biggest winners of the best apps of the last week. Then the only other important thing is at the top right, you can control your account. That is also where you will do the upgrade. If any of you has not done it yet, that is where you will go to upgrade and put your code in. Once you're in the chat, it gets just a little bit more complicated. But I see that the background doesn't play very good with this. But let me just go left to right. So the publication. Whenever you are working here, this is already a live page. That is the URL that you get when you get that arrow on the top. So if you want to share with a team member that wants to see your current version, that's where they will go. The publish button is actually to create that production version, to differentiate the environment where you're developing and the environment where you're publishing. Mobile view just helps you take a look at the responsive versions of it. The code, which I don't encourage you to be living on today, but there are some times where it is much faster to do a change there. Let's say that you had something here, and instead of Jorge, it wrote first Pedro Alvarez. So I don't want to wait for 5 minutes for it to do an edit of me. I could just go into the code, search for Pedro Alvarez, and replace it with Jorge Alcántara. And that is way faster, doesn't use tokens, and there's no possibility for failure. The last couple of things, you have them at the end. The version history. This is probably your best friend when vibe coding. This is a tool that they have all learned to add. One thing that Lovable has that others not all do is you can bookmark a specific version. So let's say that you work on a direction and you get to a point that is good. This is good to share. Okay, I'm going to bookmark this and publish it. But then I'm going to continue, and maybe the next 5 messages were all a failure. It took it down a path. I don't know how to actually get back to fixing it. Well, just roll back to the bookmarked version that worked last and continue from there. One more thing on that is that in the name of your project at the top left, you can go into settings, and in those settings, you have the ability to fork out the conversation. Well, we'll get to that in a moment. Mainly, you can remember that you can copy paste images not only so that it has that as reference, but also so that it saves them and use them for the app. So when you give it an image and they tell it to use it, it will download those images and put them on the same repository. You can see what the model does by what it thinks. This is a clickable area. You can see the reasoning, the tools that it used, which can be things like doing online searches, interacting with images, and the specific edits that it did on the code base. Each of these blue boxes will be the versions that you can click to preview it here on the right. So you can preview even older versions, not just the last one. The attachments, we've talked about it quickly, and the last 2 things that are really important. Chat versus build. This exists in different names in all of the different tools. When you are in build mode, you're talking to a system that has access to edit the code, run other scripts, interact with the code base. When you're with chat, you're only discussing. You're only talking about the product. You're only talking about the problem. Why would you use that? Because a lot of times you just want to see, like, what are the good options to write a good CTA here that would actually convert the users that land into this page. You don't want it to do it. You want to brainstorm. And that is what chat is for. It spends much less tokens and is a much faster solution if you just want to chat. And finally, the edit button. That allows you to click a section of the page that is the only one that is going to be edited with your next message. So similarly, let's say that I only want you to pay attention to the hero section of the landing page with this input that I'm giving you. Then you will click on edit, you will click on the hero section on your page, and then you will ask your question or your ask. This way you also save on tokens, you ensure that the model is paying attention to the right area of the page, etc. Cool. The last thing is settings. I am highlighting this because I know that there are two of them that you will want to use. One of them is that if you want to share this widely, you may not want the default share with Lovable, build with Lovable badge on the bottom right. You can take that out with the first toggle. The second one is the Remix project. This is just a name, but it's really a fork. What it does, it creates a copy of your current project in a new chat. This is very important because once you've had 20, 30 messages, the context of that conversation starts to get very big. Models like this work really with attention. The more things that you have that are not relevant to your current question, the worse it will perform. So my recommendation is that after you have a few versions, maybe after 20 to 30 messages, you should always remix. You should always go into a new chat and continue from there. When you have that bookmarked version that you liked, remix there. That way you have a chat that ended there, you have that saved, and you now have a new chat where you're going in different directions, where you're exploring something new, where you're adding something that is risky, maybe. And the last thing, and this is just a nicety, I really like that they added analytics and the security center. Analytics is basically just very straightforward numbers of how many visitors you have on your site, where do they come from, nothing more fancy. And the security one is one that I will want everybody to run before the end of the day. It's free, and Lovable just runs the LLM through your code base to identify if there are any security issues. Like you may have put a password hard-coded in your code, which is a big no-no. You may be doing calls to an API that shouldn't be callable from the front end because you're exposing data. That is what Lovable will find there. It's free to run it, and so always recommend to do it when you're about to publish to production. It doesn't solve every security issue, but at least it catches the most obvious ones. And that's generally it with Lovable. These tips are for everybody, independent of the tool that you're using. I apply this when I'm building with V0 or when I'm building with Cursor as well. I am not the best designer, but I have gotten to design very nice interfaces because of these inspiration sources that I share here. 21st Deb, As Eternity, these are all different component libraries that are nice to check out if you ever need some additional resource.
Next slide.
Oh, right. Sorry. Those are the next tips, the most advanced ones. The first one is, even if you're thinking of a big product, it cannot do the whole product in one. So divide it in phases that are approachable for the model. If you want to build a site that has 3 key functionalities, build first the skeleton, then the main core functionality, then the other. If you you don't know exactly where you're gonna end up in the solution space, continue iterating, ask it for alternatives, try them, you don't like them, go back. It is made for that. A lot of this is gonna be throwaway code, and we're gonna be okay with it. And the best thing to do is just to try everything that can cross your mind. Let them reason. So this is something that a lot of you will know, chain of thought reasoning. When you're talking to a model, it is very good to create good behavior, to ask it to think about what it is going to do before it does it. Try to not let it just jump into code. Ask it like, define why are we going to do this to help our users do X? And once you have this well-defined, then go edit the code. Images. We've talked about this. I'll be brief, but it is very important to use it as design inspiration or when you see visual bugs. When you see a bug that has a console error, the model can see that. But when there is a bug that is not like definite break of functionality, it's just it doesn't look good, it is not as I expected, the model will not know it unless you give it a screenshot of what you mean. You may even take the screenshot, highlight it with the Mac tools, and then upload that. So the model has that attention, focused on what you want to solve. If a result isn't great, this is something that I got actually from Dan as well. He calls it the reroll. So these models are non-deterministic, and the systems even more so. So sometimes you don't even have to change the prompt. You can just go back and try the same thing, and you will get a different result. Now, the one that I was saying, for the design inspiration, do check some of those sources. As Eternity is one of the component libraries that I love the most, and you will see it all over Centric. And Hyper UI and 21st Deb have been growing a lot lately. There's also Mobbing somebody recommended on our last hackathon. There's a lot of this. But when you're looking for something pretty and you don't really know how you will build a hero section that like pops, just take a look at the 20 that are there, or 200. Find the one that you like the most, copy, paste it in, and it will actually get the code. Don't accumulate important bugs. This is similar to what Dan was saying now to your question. That if there's a small bug, sure, yes, leave it be. You'll get back to it later, list it somewhere. But if you have big bugs, don't continue building, because there's going to be a point in which you're going to have to roll back 20 versions and lose so much other progress. If you have a big bug, either go back or fix it then. But don't just accumulate those losses of functionality. In terms of context, what we were saying earlier, don't accumulate too many messages, don't go too long, don't write too big files. And a checklist, if you ever want to take these, at least to production ready, in Lovable, you can do 3 quick things. The security check that we talked about, but also in just one prompt, you can ask it to architect all of this SEO that you're going to need for your page. SEO for this page is very simple. It's just a JSON object that has the information that is going to be shared with Google and the other crawlers. Upload an icon. Just give it an icon that it can use for the favicon, to show in the tab, a logo for the site, and an OG image. You can Google that or ask me later if you're interested. And connecting a domain is easiest as it can be in Lovable. Lovable is the only one that doesn't ask you to change your DNS. It just asks you for your credentials of your custom domain, and it will do everything for you, which is a nightmare for a DevOps person. Nobody will want to do that if they know how to do DNS, but really is the best way to do it today. If you want to buy a domain for $2 and just have it be for your web app, this will take you 2 minutes. Happy to answer if anybody wants to go that route. And that's really it for the real big advice. This is a little bit more soft. This is something that I have been talking about lately when talking to other Vive coders, particularly engineers like me that did not have a very good design eye for the majority of their life, where the majority of what we built look like pages from the 90s. And really, one thing that changed the output that I get from Cursor and all of these tools is talking like a designer. I read enough to understand how they call the different styles, the words that they use to define motion, to define a feeling. And this is really all that is needed to give models enough attention to the subject so they actually do a very good work. A lot of times I even ask it to review the principles from Johnny Ives, list them clearly, and then apply them to create delightful experiences. And even just using the word delightful already gives it a little bit of a lift. You have a page that Lovable has for a lot of buzzwords that you can check out, but generally ask your designer to, or review one of the documents that they've shared with you recently. Premium, editorial, tactile, glassmorphic, or neo-brutalism are words that actually mean something for the model. And sorry, you had a question back there?
Most of us are working with an already existing product. We don't need to create something new like what we just did right now. I wanted to know if you have any tips or tricks for how do we get our current product, make an exact carbon copy of it, and vibe code on top of that, adding new features on top of that, so that that is that's something we can do tomorrow. That's for our jobs. So instead of writing PRDs, we can vibe code live prototypes for our engineering teams. And
I will not answer in too much length, but I'll talk to you later. My first quick answer will be use-centric, but really, it's other tools that are better for this. If you want to start with something that approximates it well, take a good screenshot of the set of pages that are the most relevant from the product that you're going to edit, and start first making a clone. And that way you can get to a minimum version that you can grow off of. I also have a prompt that I can share that is exactly to create clones of pages. But again, that's not going to be perfect. The final solution for something like that would be to use Cursor or one of the IDE tools so you can actually use the real code base. And it's the way that I recommend to companies doing it. I lose fear of the IDE over time and get to that right side of the spectrum. But that's it with Lovable. I'll be around. I'll go around just because I know that we're short on time. I want to get into magic patterns, but I'll get to you in a moment.
Awesome. Thanks, Jorge. I appreciate it. So actually, magic patterns can help with what you're talking about. So real quick, guys. So he covered Lovable. I want to give a quick overview of magic patterns. Okay. Roll this up. So this is the other tool that we use. So Magic Patterns is the other tool. It actually supports that use case better. And so again, let's just take a step back from that question. You've got one use cases, which is, hey, I want to create a prototype from scratch. I have no constraints at all, like blue sky. That's what these tools are great for. And then you have the other case, which is, hey, I've got existing code. I want to vibe code it. And then the middle case is, hey, I've got an existing page. I want to like take it and then add to it or modify it. You know, I used to do this back in the day. You used to take a screenshot, you put it in Microsoft Paint, you hack it up. I used to call it a Frankenstein mock-up, right? You kind of like, it's got the nice, pretty website and then the drop down you added and things like that, right? So actually Magic Patterns helps support that use case better. So here's a Magic Patterns main page when you come in here, right? And the cool thing with Magic Patterns, you can start with a text prompt, which as you can tell from Lovable, you can. You can start with a screenshot, which you can also start with on Lovable. You can also start, this is why it's designer friendly, you can start with the Figma design. So one option for what you were just asking is if your designer has the Figma design for that page, you can just grab that and it'll create it, right? You can also start with a screenshot, as Harry was saying, and you can also start with code from GitHub. So you can, it has a lot of different ways to start. And it has different modes here. You can see it's got a base mode, a wireframe mode, and it's got the support for these different UI coding frameworks. So that's where you can try to start to match what your existing code base and libraries are if you want to. They also have a browser extension that's pretty cool that lets you do that Frankenstein stuff a lot easier. Let me just demo it real quick because it's pretty cool. So like say you were a product manager at Airbnb, right? You're not going to go like create some random new design. The designers sure as hell wouldn't let you do that, right? But what you can do is you can use the Magic Patterns and you go in here and you say select HTML and you can be like, you know, I want to replicate you can pick any of the divs or any of the, like say you want to replicate, I want to work on this row. So you click that and you can see it's converting HTML. It's going to take a second and then it's going to open it in Magic Patterns and that it'll have that in code, like just that thing basically, right? It'll take a sec to do that. Here it comes. And there it is. Huh? Yeah, you can't. That would be like you start with a screenshot. So in fact, the reason I like Magic Patterns is because when I call this a reverse prototyping, it was kind of for a brief period of time before the code was there. There were tools that would let you basically create a Figma artboard from a screenshot, basically, effectively, right? It's not quite HTML, CSS. Once I found out about it, I'm like, that's awesome because I was thinking of exactly the use case you were. So I took the Airbnb homepage and I ran it through 4 different tools in the same category, Magic Patterns. And Magic Patterns was the one that most truly reflected it. It caught all the shadows and the gradients, all that kind of stuff. Some of the other tools couldn't deal with that stuff. It was just like blocky. It was missed the icons, things like that. So for me, that's why I kind of fell in love with Magic Patterns right away. So it's kind of cool. So now you can go in and change it and things like that, right? So I just wanted to show that. That's one of the tricks that it can do. All right, cool. So let's go to the Magic Patterns UI. Once you click in, this is all the things that you get to do, right? So let's go here. So they've got like a lot of tools. You can pick the screen size. Like you can pick, I'm on an iPhone 17. I'm on a laptop. You can pick responsive design. By the way, most of these tools default to responsive design. If you want mobile only, you can say mobile only. This is a designer-centric tool. You can export to Figma, right? So you can import from Figma and you can export to Figma at any point that you want. You can open it out in a new tab. Some people are doing that. Show and hide that. Chatter code view. Again, it's very rare they're going to have to go into the code, but you can if you want to. You can add a custom domain if you want, and then you can export. So here you can see export to Figma, sync to GitHub, download the code, copy the code as a prompt, share public link, right? That's how you get it out there. They also have, as Jorge points out, they have like a get feedback tool. So say you wanted to share your prototype, instead of having like get your feedback through some other channel, people can leave feedback right there on the thing, kind of like InVision used to do and Figma lets you do, right? So that's kind of a cool thing. There's where their version history dropdown is right there. On the chat thing, you can upload an image. This is, again, the select element. This is what Jorge was saying. Like, if I just wanted to change this button, articulating UI design changes like, please change the create new roadmap button from blue to purple. That's a pain in the butt to type out, right? So you could just click on that thing, click on the button and say, make purple. All right. The other thing, as you get to use it, you realize you do not need to be verbose with these things. You can just be like, fix it. And it'll like fix it, right? Make it work. Like you don't need to give it much guidance if you tell it, like, especially if you give it the context of what thing you want it to do. Like one of my friends here, the first version UI looked good, but there was a button that didn't work. It's like, hey, the button doesn't work. Yeah, I'm like, it's not going to flesh all the paths out. You tell it, hey, make that button work, and then it'll make it work, right? It'll figure out. And usually it's pretty good about figuring out what the button should do. Using components, there's different modes you can do. Faster, best mode. I guess that's like, do you want it to go faster, better, trade quality? This is interesting. The modes are interesting because, again, you have the discuss mode where it's like ask. Instead of building, you can ask the chat, right? I like to switch to discuss or ask mode when it's like in what I call the debug death loop. If you're like trying to fix something and it's like, okay, yeah, I fixed it. Yeah, I fixed it. And it's not fixing it. Just take a step back and go into ask or discuss mode. Also, before you start to get the little spidey sense of, I'm about to give it a pretty big feature change. Instead of just like betting it all on black, let's go. Let me talk to you about what you're going to do. Like, tell me, what are you planning to do here, right? So then you can kind of make sure it makes sense beforehand. You'll start to get a spidey sense for when is the scope and complexity so small, you can just let it ride and roll the dice and not worry. And when do you need to like check in first beforehand? Then as also, this is where you fork. So as Jorge said, every once in a while, you're going to want to like clone your project, kind of lock in the progress you've made here. And like, but you want to kind of maybe explore a different direction. You can fork it and you can always go back to that fork point here that you want, right? So it's another way to manage what you're doing. I think that's all the main stuff there. And then just because there's one cool thing. Let me see if I can get it up here real quick. I want to show you one of the unique, and you can see there are little differences here and there, right? Like, so you just saw how, Lovable had analytics, right? Until today, Bolt did not have analytics. Like literally today, I got an email. It's like Bolt's like, we have analytics now. Like these guys are like neck and neck. Like, and one guy launches a feature, and it's like 2 or 3 weeks later, he's just like, So that's, I have people that like, oh, I really love Lovable. Oh, I really love Bolt. It's like they are probably the 2 closest products in the space that you'll find, right? So, but they do have little differences that they have. One of the key differences of magic patterns that I want to show is it's pretty cool because they support divergent thinking, which I think is amazing, right? So like, remember, did anybody use Midjourney back or still uses it back in the day? Like when you gave it an image, how many did it gave you? 4. It deliberately diverged, right? And so back to like exactly what I say, like if you were to take the same product brief and put it in Bolt or Lovable 3 times in a row, you would get 3 different UIs. They could be very different. They can be slightly different, but the chances that they'll be pixel perfect identical is really low because there's that random factor, right? So what I want to show real quick on magic patterns is how they actually embrace that. All right. So one thing, when you do the little component trick, it's not quite ready for AI editing yet. And then you have to do a little step. Now it's ready for AI editing. So let me just bring it back here again, one sec. And what did it do? Edit with AI. It did it. Convert design.
Definitely low.
What's that?
Definitely low.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Okay, now it did it. It tried to do it the first time and it didn't. So now it's cooking it up like it's cooking it up like a prompt, right? So now it's like instead of it being some like intermediate HTML component, now it's actually going to put it in here. And you'll see the reason I wanted to put it in here is so I can try to get it to diverge. So as soon as it's done, I'm going to go in here. I'm going to do inspiration. You see this? Explore multiple variants of idea. This is the only product I've seen that has this deliberately there. There might be some other ones in that design. I would predict that there might be other ones in that design column that have it, but I haven't seen it yet. So we'll come back to that while it's cooking. Okay. So what else we got? Cool. Okay. Quick Bolt, just because, is anyone here going to use Bolt today? Some people can't, because we did use it last time. And so I just wanted to just give a quick overview. It just also is fun to compare the UIs. I have to update these UIs every 2 weeks when I do these things because they're adding stuff, they're changing stuff. It's crazy, right? So real quick on Bolt, similar stuff. They just added that. They didn't have the view history that Lovable and Magic Patterns had like 2 weeks ago. And then they launched it. And what I'm really proud of them is they actually didn't just copy the way the other people did it. They came up with some unique functionality like search and bookmarks. Kind of cool. You can, if you want to essentially duplicate your project or export it, it's buried underneath this drop down. It's kind of hard to find. You can hide code preview, same thing. They support GitHub Supabase, just like Lovable does. This is where you publish it to a notified event. You can preview a new tab, responsive mode. This is the thing when you want to just modify one thing, like you would click on that and click on that icon if you wanted to change it, full screen. This is where, so before they had this version history, there would only be this inline restore that you could do. And so you'd have to it's kind of complicated to go back through your history and find the exact point. So this is a lot better. You can still do it inline here. Sidebar, you can upload a file, discuss or build mode, right? That's what we were talking about. And yeah, that's pretty much, so that's Bolt in a nutshell. And I just want to share my coding tips. Let's see if Magic Patterns has come through in the meantime. I want to share my tips real quick, and then we'll get into our jam session where we go deep on this stuff. Okay, here we go. Boom. All right, my coding tips. Yeah, I like to steal from this quote. There's if any of you have written a lot, you've heard this quote that writing is blank. What is writing is, what is it? So what's that, rewriting? Yeah, basically like editing or rewriting, right? Like you just got to learn to get over your writer's block, just get it out there, and then you're going to edit it from there, right? Anyway, that's the basic thing. So my parallel for vibe coding is debugging. Say, at least for now. Maybe in 6 to 12 months, the tools will be so good we don't have to worry about it. But it's debugging basically, right? Debugging. So, and I want to get clear on what do I mean. There's three different use cases of why you might want to debug. The first is it just doesn't work. Like you just saw with Magic Patterns, I got a blank screen, right? It may not work, and that may be because you have a JavaScript there or something, And it's kind of funny because it's creating all the code, but it can introduce an error while it's creating the code. Because it's probabilistic, it may actually change one of the letters of a file name when it references it to it. And you're like, why did you do that, buddy? You're in control of all the stuff. But it'll do that. Now, the good news is it's easy to fix it. You can just say, and a lot of times it might even say, oh, I see this. It might catch it and say, this didn't work, I'm going to fix it. Or it might offer you a little fix it button, you can do it. Worst case, you just say, preview is blank. And again, you'll start to learn you can be really terse. You don't want to be like, I don't see anything when I look at the thing. You don't need to say, just like, preview is blank, right? No preview, right? Just start to think about what's the shortest thing I can tell it to be fast. That'll do it. The other thing I got to tell you is these tools, they're like a programming intern, but like the most chipper, overconfident, wanting to please intern there is. So you'll tell it, it'll be like, I created the prototype for you, ta-da! And you're like, the main button is missing. And it'll be like, oh my gosh, you're totally right. I forgot the main button. Silly me. Oh, I'm such an idiot. Let me go ahead. Don't worry. I added the button. It's all fixed now. And you look and the button's still not there. And you tell it again, no button there. It's like, oh, you're right. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Now I know what the problem is. Now I know. You'll end up doing it. Sometimes it will just keep doing that cycle of like flagellating itself and then telling you now it's going good. And you're like, what's going on? So you got to be careful with that. The second thing is you might be having a bug that's causing a problem. So like your stuff's working, but like as you go through the flow, you see like, is there some bug? Usually it's a JavaScript bug that you can see. The third is not really a bug, but it's like it's not making the change that you wanted. Like say you're trying to make that button work and you're trying to like have it like rearrange something on the page and it's just not doing it. And a lot of times it will tell you, okay, now I fixed that. And you're like, it didn't change. Like you're going back and forth like you're talking to a wall. Fix it. I fixed it. Now we're good, right? So at some point, and you'll start to, at the end of the day, it's not as smart as you are, right? The other thing I love is like, it's like, there was some, hey, it was some alignment problem. And I'm like, can you tried to fix it a couple times. So then I got meta on. I'm like, okay, you've tried to fix this 3 times now without any success. Take a step back and think about it. And then it's like, I know there must be a subtle millisecond timing difference in the JavaScript event. I'm like, no, that is not what's going on. It's like, it comes up with these like crazy explanations. I will refactor all the code to ensure all the, I'm like, no, dude. No. Right. So you gotta be careful if you're not technical and you're just like, accept. It will send you down this complicated path, promising that it's going to fix everything. And next thing you know, it's even more worked and messed up. So that reverting back and version history is your friend. And you'll start to get the spidey sense of when do I need to ask it about what's going on? And, so that's it. So revert and discuss. Cool. Debugging tips. If it offers to fix it, but a lot of times they're very cool. It's like, oh, do you want to fix it? And you just click fix it and it'll do it. Copy. This is a very specific hack. Copy and paste the error message, right? If you have some error message on there, don't try to recreate. When I do this, I get this error message. Just copy and paste it or take a screenshot and pop it in there. That's all you need. Like, you do not need to tell a life story of what happened. Just tell it the thing. If you give it the verbatim text, you can usually figure it out, right? The biggest hack is what Jorge was saying. It can be incredibly frustrating to try to make design changes via text. Okay, the button that's in the upper left, move it over to the right a little and make the corners a little more rounded. Like, what do we like? You're writing an essay to try to get little pixel changes and stuff, right? That's just like a waste of time. So I want to show you what I like to do. And some people, what they do is they're used to taking screenshots and saving screenshots, right? But that is an inefficient way. So I want to teach you the power trick that I like to use. Let me find Lovable real quick. Cool. All right. So I just want to show you this quick trick because a lot of people don't know how to do this. And I want to just show. Here we go. Okay. I just want to mirror real quick. Okay, cool. So this is Lovable, and it's the roadmap tool that it created for me, right? All right, here we go. So I'm going to go down to my projects. There's my, I should have a roadmap one in here somewhere. Roadmap.There. Cool. Let's just go here. Okay. So let's say this is my project. This is, the wild, rocky yellow one, right? Right. So one thing for the yellow, I would just say change the yellow background. But what I want to show you is, let's say that, what am I going to say here? Let's say I want these, instead of being like this, I want them to, let's see what layout would I want to do instead of this. Let's just make, let's just do that. I'm going to say hold on. Let me get does anybody have a UI fix here we want to do? Let's see. Well, let's say I know what I want to do. I don't want those icons there. So I only want the icons there on hover, right? Why are they sitting there all the time? I'm just going to put them on hover. See those icons, the edit and delete icons? So I could try to explain it. Oh, the buttons to the right of the theme thing, blah, 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 blah. It would take forever, right? And I could take a screen. A lot of people, what they do is they take a screenshot, they save the file somewhere on their computer, and then they come back here and they go, okay, I'm just going to add the file now. And no, just go by using the Spock, the Command Control Shift 4, by adding one keystroke, you can go and do this, and then you just paste it right in the box. That's the power trick right there. See, it's going to put it in there. It's there. You can't see it because it's messed up, but it's there, right? So it's make these icons only visible on hover, right? That's what I want to do. So hopefully the screenshot went through, but a lot of people are just used to this. Save the screenshot to your computer, and then you got to go and you open, you navigate. You can paste right in. Let's see what it does. Okay, now it's doing it. Good. See, okay. Thinking, editing. Yes. So, oh yeah, good call. It's right there it's on the PowerPoint. Let me pull the PowerPoint up. Thank you. That was the key. It's Control Shift 4, right? That's it. So let's go back and see. There it goes. It did it. See, guys? So now it's just when I hover. See? So that's what you want to do. If any bug or anything, just take a quick that Vulcan grip thing, and you can just paste it right in. Don't go saving it with anything like that. Just paste it right in. Same thing if you have, for some reason, you had some JavaScript error. Let's just go to Airbnb. I'm sure they have a JavaScript error. If I go down here and I look in here, yeah, see that? This stuff? You get the same thing. You can just go in here and take a screenshot of this stuff and paste it in too, instead of having to try to copy and paste the text as well, right? Okay. So just a little bit of advanced stuff. Okay. And you will get into the vibe decoding death mode. You'll fight. Does anybody hate this already? Today? Okay, right? You're going to get in there and it's going to be like, what's going on? And so again, if it tries to fix the same bug 3 times and it hasn't, just take a deep breath, take a step back. Yeah, I get meta on. I'm like, you tried 3 times now to fix this. And so it's not working. So take a step back. And I switch to discuss mode. And then I take a step back and I go, please analyze all the code and figure out what might be some probable causes of this. Yeah. Here, let's get a mic over there if we can. Let's tell us.
Yeah, I was just going to say that what's been working for me a lot in that death loop is if you go to ChatGPT 5 and use agent mode and connect your GitHub, if you've synced your GitHub to Lovable, right, then ChatGPT can go and look at your code and make suggestions, right? So if you get that to that point and you're already synced with GitHub, it can just go in there and say like, oh yeah, try this instead.
Right.
As an alternative, it's kind of like going to the lead engineer.
It's basically a second opinion. You're getting a second opinion is what you're doing. Basically because Lovable is using Claude Sonnet. So like they all are using a model underneath it. And so a general rule of thumb is, yeah, you can go to a different model and say, hey, what would you do here, right? And that's actually so back to these other tools that I was showing. This is what I was talking to Chris over here about RuCode. Let me pull this up real quick. Let me connect it real quick, guys. Sorry. Choose content. Okay. And here's the spectrum. But basically, like, when you're here, like these guys, they let you pick your model. So like I've done this where I'm working on one model and I get into the debug death loop and all I do is I switch to a model and then I get unstuck. So it's the same version that you do, but explicitly lets you do it. So let me actually show you about, for a second, if anybody wants to live, go like, and by the way, as Jorge said, it's very common for someone, wherever you jump in, most people will jump in here or here. As you get more experience, you start kind of moving to the right naturally as you feel more confident. Like honestly, Replit is not that much more complicated than Bolt or Lovable, right? It just lets you do some more stuff. But as far as the UI and everything, it's pretty straightforward, right? So now when the UI changes from the browser-based, like this thing we're getting used to, chat on the left, prototype, for some reason, Magic Patterns flipped them. But you basically have a chat area and you have a preview area. Once you get over here, they're different UIs. But I just want to show you real quick. I'll show you RuCode and SnapDev real quick. Okay, so this is just to show you in the other column, right? So one thing is, why is it not? Oh, it's in this one. Hold on. SnapDev also uses RuCode. So in here, you can see I've got Gemini 2.5 Pro, ChatGPT 5, Claude Sonnet, right? ChatGPT 4.0. So you can pick your model, basically. So when you get stuck in one, you go to the other one, right? But the cool thing about RuCode is these roles. So it has code and ask, which is basically what we've been talking about with these other guys like build, code, ask, discuss. There's two modes. But then it also has an architect mode where it's not doing any coding. It's just planning out the architecture for you. It's got a debug mode. So when you're actually truly doing debugging. So these are optimized for the task at hand. And then it's got an orchestrator mode that can orchestrate among the different ones. So that's what I was trying to show you, Chris. That's basically the modes that I want to show you. Right. Yeah. All right, cool. So let's keep going here. Yeah.
You don't need to start your project here.
No, not at all. No, you don't. Not at all. Yeah. In fact, I have a slide I didn't put in here. I'll just pull this up real quick because this is what I experienced. If you are using one of those things, if you do end up using one of those other tools where you can switch the model, you'll realize something. Okay, so here, this is my funny slides about this. The model matters. Okay. So like literally I was using RuCode on one model and I was in the debug death loop feeling like I was like this going nowhere. And then I switched to Claude Sonnet, and all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, it's like, literally I was in the debug death loop. I switched to Claude Sonnet, and I'm like, oh my God, I just got upgraded to like a principal engineer here. Like it's verbose. It's telling you what it's doing. It's the commit messages are like these essays instead of just like a one-liner. It's like crazy how much more thoughtful it is, right? So obviously, the Cadillac of them all is Claude Opus 4. It's great, but it's expensive. It's very expensive. Claude Sonnet 4 or 4.1 is the latest. 4 is really good. It's pretty darn good. It's not as expensive. And then 5 is pretty much comparable. Some people prefer 5. Some people prefer Sonnet 4. Basically, OpenAI designed GPT-5 to compete with Sonnet. They were tired of everybody saying, yeah, Sonnet's the best for coding, man. Sonnet's the best for coding. and they're like a general purpose LLM. So anyway, the models matter. So if you're in one of those tools where you can play around with it, then you can do that. Okay. And then we'll get going again.
Any of these good at content design and localization, and can we plug those into it, like translation memory and things like that?
I don't have personal experience with that. I would think you should be able to, right? I mean, this again, part of it is you can, as Jorge was saying, you can hook up to any kind of API, right? So if there's some translation API that you want to use, you can use it. You should be able to integrate it, right? So yeah, I don't see anything. None of them have like intrinsic ability to do that, right? The other thing, last thing I want to say is related to the great question we had earlier, which is sometimes it will just get stuck going in the wrong direction. You might realize it right away. That's actually the best time to realize it. Because if you start going, my metaphor for this, I haven't created a slide, is like you're entering like a dark woods, like this thick woods, and you're going down. You think you're walking the right way. You see a path. You take the path. You start going. You realize, oh my gosh, I'm going in circles. That's the debug death loop. And you realize I got to go all the way back to that last fork in the path. I took a wrong turn in this crowded forest here, right? So sometimes it gets stuck in the wrong direction. So if you realize you're way off, just do not try to get it will not modify and get there. It can move about 10, 15 degrees, but if you realize it's off, just like reset. Like you said, start a new chat, go back, update your product brief, do what you need to do, right? And then just real quick to cover the reroll thing that we mentioned briefly is it's probabilistic, it's not deterministic. And I learned this the hard way intrinsically. Back in like April or May, it was the fun thing to do to make your action figure doll. Everybody makes their LinkedIn action figure doll, right? Because the Gen AI, the Gen image tools got good enough. Well, I'm a Star Wars fan, so I'm going to make a Star Wars one. And gosh darn it, to get to this thing, I just stopped because when I tried to tweak this anymore, it would mess something up. I'd be like, all right, make the lightsaber a little smaller. Lightsaber got smaller, my head got twice as big. I'm like, what did you do? What are you doing, right? Like, what are you doing? So it's like the same thing happens here. You'll ask it to fix X. It'll fix X, but along the way, it changes Y, even though you didn't say anything about Y, right? And I've seen this when I was vibe coding. Like, I deleted some, I'm like, get rid of the tabs. I got rid of the tabs. 5 texts later, we're changing something else. All of a sudden, the tabs are back. I'm like, what are you doing? I told you no tabs, right? So it's kind of like that. So you have to really keep a close eye on changes and revert back when you see some changes. What I want to geek out on is like test-driven development. I want to set up some automated regression tests so that I don't have to be doing manual regression tests every time to catch some random change that it made. So, when I have time, and I'm sure people are going to start baking this in too, there'll be that. So, you can try to tell, don't change other code and things like that. By limiting the element, using that focus only on this element, that's the way to do it. So again, my top piece of advice is don't be hesitant, just do it, right? Just put in your prompt, just try it out. If it doesn't look good, just start a new chat. These are throwaway chats. These are throwaway prototypes. Like there's no sunk cost. You're not wed to this at all. You can always just do it again, right? Okay. All right, enough talking. We're going to get back to vibe coding again. This time let's do about 40 minutes. All right, folks. Couple things. Well, some people are like moving on to advanced stuff. So we didn't have time to get to this stuff, but some other stuff. One person ran into this. Did anybody have a nicely formatted PRD with indented stuff and they pasted it and all the indentation went out the window, right? So it doesn't like tabs and indentations and things like that. So just a little tip. If you want to geek out a little more, you can learn Markdown. It's like a lightweight HTML. You just basically, bottom line is don't do the auto-numbered bullet points in Word or Google Docs. Just use hyphens and you'll be cool. Another great hack is if you want to do a database, you can do the Supabase. It's really easy to do. If you're not quite ready to go there, one thing you can do is your browser has a thing called local storage. So you can actually tell Bolt or Lovable or whatever to say, hey, instead of me having to type in the data every single time, can you just use local storage in the browser? That's a little hack you can do before you want to go. It does make Supabase integration super easy, so you can do that. They do all offer GitHub integration as well. You saw they already have their own version history and rollback. So you're like, why do I need Git, right? You don't need Git if you're going to stay just in that tool. Git is helpful if you want to move it to another tool or move it around with someone else or work with someone else on the code. That's where the Git comes in handy. And then, if you want to deal with exactly what Jorge said, I've done it different ways. One time I did full stack and I was like, I want to get Google Auth working. I spent 30 minutes just debugging and getting Google Auth working. Like, did that add any value to my app at all? No, right? So I actually prefer to like add auth later or just have it like mock it up. So you don't have to, it's a pain if you're testing it every single time, you got to log in. It's a pain, right? So anyway, so that's that. And then integrating, like one team over here, they were doing a mobile app and they had a little voice button for like the coach to leave a voice message. And they asked me, well, how would we do voice integration? So you know what I did? I went to ask mode and I said, how would we integrate voice to text? And it brought up some libraries and it said, you can do it client side with this way. You can do it server side this way. I recommend client side and hello button. Do you want me to implement client side? Yeah. How'd it go when you pushed it? Did it do it? Failed. Okay. It was overly confident. Yeah. All right. Anyway. Make promises. Okay, cool. So that's that. Cool. So real quick, we're going to transition to the demo. So again, if you want a demo, please, it's got to be publicly available on that Google Sheet. But I want to take a moment to thank all of our, everybody that helped make this successful today. So first, all the volunteers. So demos, way we're going to do this is 3 minutes tops. Okay, so we got to keep it going because we don't want to be here all night, but I want to get as many in as we can. So first up, we have job application.
So the concept is very basic. Basically, user would be able to provide their resume. So I'm just pasting here the resume. I'm pasting a job description on this site. And then I'm going to kind of put a resume of that person as well that is applying. And the idea is to look to the criteria of the ATS compatibility, then provide the scoring and say what is kind of the priorities for improvement, and then be able to analyze to say what are the keywords that are high that I'm covering and what are the keywords that I'm not covering, what are the suggestions, and kind of a score based on the different area of the resume. And then have a suggestion here where it can basically say, okay, replace this one. So I can click on the apply suggestion and it automatically does the correction for each of those elements there. So it's automatically kind of providing, so apply this area, and then means that the resume is automatically added and the number of the scoring goes up. So now reaches, for example, 97. So the entire experience works, but is not really working because when you put different resume and different job description, it kind of shows exactly the same pattern.
So we need to implement some back-end logic, right? Sounds like. But yes, let's give a round of applause. So that's the thing, is this will optimize, this is focused on the front end, right? Basically the front end experience that you can see.
Yes.
And then you can start to build in the back end and say, okay, I'm going to, like you want, to run some evaluation criteria or something. So that's great.
Yeah,
Thanks so much, Shereen.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, great. Awesome. Cool. Thanks. All right. So first demo down. All right. Next up, we have, they don't have a name. Let's see. Okay. Team 18. Can you all want to get a name? Emily's team, put a name in there. Okay. Number 2 is Voter Compass.
So this is Voter Compass. I think that in this day and age, everyone wants to become more active on its political views. And there's a huge gap between candidates and constituents. It's super hard to let candidates know what we're thinking and make our voices heard. And most importantly, make sure that they pull forward with everything that they're saying they're going to do. So this is a solution to kind of be like a public memory of what the candidates are proposing. And so as any voter, I can explore, go to the candidates, see their profile. Fortunately, I'm having an error here for some reason. But if I see the profile, I can see what the profile is. And as the candidate enters all that information, we can see the positions and people will be able to see what are their achievements and give them a review about their achievements. But most importantly, they'll be able to see the policy. So as a candidate, I can come here and I can enter any type of policy that I want in different areas. The platform provides a template for all kind of policies depending of what you are. If you're a city manager, they're going to give you a policy. If you are a federal representative, it's going to give you a different type of policy pillars, let's say. But you can get creative and create your own policy. The main idea is that at the end of the day, me as a voter, I can come here into the policy profile view, and using LLM, I'll be able to interact, ask questions about what's the policy, and provide feedback. You know, if I feel that the policy that this candidate has is not representing me, I can make a proposal so that policy gets updated. The most important thing here is the LLM will be able to filter out any type of negative bad words that might be provided in the interaction and guide the voter to the right thing to do, which is keep the conversation civil and constructive. And once the chatbot analyzes everything that the voter has provided as feedback, it will tie it back to the schema that we have on the policy structure so that we can see how people is voicing their opinions in different areas and get a score in the dashboard as a candidate to see what people is saying, what are the topics that are most popular, and then adapt my policy to what people is saying and getting in real time from the people out there. And yeah, that's basically it. At the end of the day, I wanted to have canvassing so that we can follow up on the campaign and then create campaign messages and all that kind of stuff for the candidates. But this is how much I could do with the free credits that it was available to get. So maybe in the next few days, I'll keep iterating because it's a cool project.
Did you use the upgrade code for Lovable?
Yes, but
you already burned through that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good job. Nice. All right. Okay, cool. Thank you. Nice. We got 2 great demos so far. Next up, smart production tool.
Awesome. I'll summarize what we built here. So this is a model meant for operators in retailers. This is an application that suggests the production for different categories. So here we can see like each category, bakery, meat, and rotisserie, with the amount of items we need to produce. We can see the production by item and easily updating the current stock or the on hands for each item. If you deviate and select a production which is not the one that the app suggests, you can do it, but you will need to provide a reason code, right? If like maybe you are having staff shortage, a special event, etc. So you do it for all the items within this category. You see small item images that can help guide the persons inside the production area. And you also can see some details within the item info on which like we can see the forecast accuracy for the application for the last 6 months. We can see the 7-day sales versus forecast comparison. And something very helpful for them is, the product information, quick tips, ingredients, step by step. Also, if you want the complete PDF guide to produce an item, you can download it and can see. Oh, I think I only shared the window to look the web page, but you can download the PDF. And also something very important. When saving your production plan, you can see the performance on a category level. The same thing we saw on an item level. We can see category forecast accuracy to provide more clarity. And from here, we can also navigate back to the items within the category. So that's basically what we were able to build for bakery, meat, and rotisserie.
Nice. All right, good demo. And back to the point from the previous one is like, oh, well, it doesn't actually do the logic on the back end. That's actually kind of nice. Before you go and build the logic, wouldn't it be nice to validate with customers that actually want this thing, right? It's kind of like doing a dashboard before you do all of what the analytics would look like before you write all the SQL queries and all that jazz, right? So it saves you time by doing that. That's great. Awesome. Okay. 3 strong demos so far. Let's go in.
How would you recommend we test these using actual, people who might be interested?
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. I think that mic is competing with this other one, so I'll use this one. Yeah, I think, basically, so I think that's chapter 8 in my book. So that's the step in the Lean Product, but that's a good point. It's a good question. Like it's not obvious, right? So if we go back here real quick, this is where, and again, I'm not trying to plug my book, but this is what you want to, and I have talks online. You can go watch the talks online. You don't even need to read the book if you don't want, but back to this framework, right? This is the key framework. So once you do all this amazing work that we're doing here and you refine it and you have a UX that you're excited about or prototype you're excited about, step 6 is you do have to go test with customers to see how you're doing, right? Long story short, I like to do them in batches of 5 to 8 at a time. You need to get clear on who is your target customer. You don't want to talk to 5 or 8 random people because you'll get random feedback, right? So you need to be really clear. That's why we started the PRD. What was the first section of the PRD? Target customer, so that we know who to recruit, right? There are increasingly tools online that make it super easy to recruit. So I think it's userinterviews.com. You can just, if you just want to find people, you can just go in there and say, I want people that meet this criteria, and you can pay a certain amount of money, not that much, and you can recruit them. So I've done that basically. And then I like to, I won't get into the details. I just go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Dan Olsen. I have videos on how to do the research, how to synthesize the results, how to iterate, all that jazz. So, but basically you want to test with a wave of 5 to 8, synthesize the feedback. What are the top items we need to change or fix? Go back. That's also this diagram. It's exactly what this diagram is, right? Just to be really clear. That's what this diagram is all about, right? You start out with a set of assumptions. You test a prototype. You get new data. You revise your prototype. You test that. You get new data. You go back and forth until one of 3 things happens. Either you fix it, and people go, this is amazing. I love it. Then you go, cool. Let's go build this thing now. That's great. The other one is you're changing stuff, and nobody wants what you're building. You have to decide, do we just cut it? And the other one is pivot. That's what a pivot is you say, you know what? We were heading in this direction, but we need to change to this direction. We were going after the wrong target market or the wrong need. So anyway, check out the videos on youtube.com/Dan Olsen and be all good to go. Okay. Why bother interviewing users? Hey, ChatGPT, if I were to test with 5 users, what would they tell me? Why do I never need to leave the house? You don't need to leave the house. ChatGPT can predict everything for you. No, I know. So you're talking about heuristics and stuff like that. It's funny. He was saying you take the Johnny Ive principles and apply it to your product, and then you end up with only USB-C ports on your product. It's just horrible. Anyway, sorry. All right. Okay. Okay. And next up is FDA compliance checker. That's a no. So they don't want a demo. Sorry. Nets.
Yeah, so our product idea is called Nets. It's essentially that discover the problem that we think we are all told how important it is to have networking go on coffee chats, but many people ignore the fact that it's not really a one-time effort, but a long-lasting relationship that you have to keep building, checking, to do follow-ups, to give people back what you need as well. So this is a tool that we're building to help you manage and stay on top of all the networking things. First and foremost, we build a action item summary for you so that you can stay on top of what to do next, action item for follow-ups, and networking wisdom to get some extra tips from professionals who have shared before. Also, easy conversation starters, success mindset for you to navigate forward. And then we have a context that you can choose to upload of your own definition, how you like to engage with your contacts, group them, make tags, etc. We also have this relationship analytics so that you have an overview and control of your own networking, how healthy they are, which ones needs further check-ins to be closer, and how many help that you have given to others as well, ways you can add value to your network. And for the activities, it's a summary of what you have done in the recent years. And also you can set the goals. Say if you want to check in with your professional work at least once a month, put it there and the system will manage it for you. So that's a quick demo of our product here. We'd love to hear any feedbacks.
All right. Hey, everyone. Hello, sharks. That's the internal joke. All right. We know home ownership is amazing. It's a great financial achievement and great emotional benefit to us. But homeownership also sucks. Why does it suck? Because you have to maintain a bunch of different stuff in your own home now, right? So we're making the world a better place by AI-enabled home maintenance management software. So it's called Home Health. We built a user authentication. We already have 3 users. That's Jens, my teammates, Kathy, Jens, and me. So I'm just going to do a quick login. All right. This is funny because my password is 123456 and Google is telling me it's part of a breach. I should change my password. All right. This is our homepage. On our homepage, you would be able to see what your home score is right now, depending on how many maintenance tasks you have remaining. For each system, you can see for HVAC, for electrical system, for plumbing system, for security system, what kind of maintenance tasks you have remaining. You can click on maintenance itself, and here right now I can see I have to change my I have to clean my dishwasher filter. What I can do is I can either tag it complete, or I can completely delete it myself. Let's say I want to add a new maintenance task, right? Let's say I want to add a task. Now, if I know exactly what my maintenance task is, I'm a handyman, I know exactly what I want to do. I can add all the details myself. I can add the schedule and everything. That would be entered right through there. But let's say I am not a handyman. I don't even know what to do. So what I would do is I just sneakily copied and pasted a General Electric dishwasher appliance model in here. So I would just pick appliance type dishwasher, appliance brand. Let's say I go for GE. And this is my appliance model. When you click Generate Task, OpenAI APIs in the background will basically do a quick check to figure out all the maintenance tasks required for this specific dishwasher. And it's going to tell you what are the warning signs, what are the tools needed, and you can create a task. When the task is created, it's in your maintenance schedule. You just have to go in there, and here you can see more steps, step-by-step instructions, and what the task is about. You can also click on supplies needed. So I need a replacement filter, right? I can click on buy on Amazon, and that's going to basically take me to Amazon for that dishwasher filter for me to buy. Now, let's say I am lazy. I am handy, but I am lazy. I don't want to do this by myself. So what do? I can click on get local help, and that's going to take me to Yelp, where I can basically look for the best dishwasher / HVAC / whatever I want to do. Maintenance help directly on Yelp. Now, even if you're even lazier than that, you don't want to deal with any of that, you can ask our chatbot for help. You can basically ask, okay, what do I have to deal with? Okay, you know what? I'll just do it. What tasks are overdue? Exactly. And it should basically tell me, all right, we need to work on that, Jens, because it says there are no overdue tasks. And that's all right. Oh, that's right. We don't have overdue tasks because you know why? Because the deadline for this task is October 17th. So we technically don't have any overdue tasks. We're golden. All right. What else did I have? So we vibed really hard on this app, and what's that? Yeah, all of this is in persistent storage, by the way. We have a Supabase integration, so if Kathy logs into her account, she's going to see her maintenance tasks. I logged into my account, so I see my house's maintenance tasks, and same would go for Jens. And the chatbot and the generate task that you saw here, the smart generate button, that is both integrated to OpenAI APIs. All right, cool. Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Good job. So for people to demo, we have some medals. Here you go.
Thank you.
And if you want, you don't have to. We have a book called What Do Product Managers Do by Tammy Reese, who is here. And it's I'll get one for you. There you go. And if you want a copy, you're welcome to have a copy if you demo. And it basically it's a book to explain to kids or clueless family members. All right, great job. Good demo. Okay, cool. Next up, we have Wander AI. I know they're local. There we go. Okay.
Yeah. All right, everyone. So I know if we have multiple platforms to book your flights, multiple platforms to, go and check like where do you want to travel. There are multiple platforms to get discounts and things like that. And you can curate all of it. So what nobody listens to you. Nobody understands what exactly do you need when you want to travel, right? So that's where like Wander AI comes in, right? So it's a travel assistant or a travel buddy, where it understands your mode, it understands your need on like what exactly are you expecting out of your travel, and then it has a series of questions that it prompts you to provide, and it also understands a little bit of your nationality, things like that. That way, it knows it can recommend a certain country for you or not. So yeah, let's just do a basic demo. I don't have that complicated design as like those guys connected with the backend and out. So you just start, or let's do this demo, right? So I say plan my adventure. So I want sort of pace and maybe Zen, right? So just give a basic description. I want to travel in the next 3 months. And you can probably give Bali, right? And then I choose multiple options, right? Like I want to go on an adventure. I want to go meet communities. I want to have those interactive trip, or like I just want to just go on a solo pure exploration kind of trip. So let me choose wellness and rejuvenation. That's what I want. So, and it takes your initial requirements, and then it gives you certain recommendations. It gives you flight operations. Of course, we can connect with a lot of discount-based platforms to give you the best price, but this is just a mock-up, and it will give you hotel suggestions as well. And yeah, that's what I've built so far, but have like more ideas to append on. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Great demo. Nice. Okay. Next up, we have Rodeo app.
Okay, so this product is solving the problem that I personally have as an experienced product person working with more junior product people or with various configurations where I have a million hats to wear, and trying to give my wisdom to the more junior product leaders. So I'm trying to give them some help to execute and develop with their team. So Rodeo is going to learn your tech stack, your team members, and it's going to improve the velocity of the team with that product manager in the loop. I'll start the demo here. So first thing is just who's on the team. It's going to learn a lot about who's available and what kind of capacity the team has. For the demo purpose, I've just got a sample team so we don't have to sit here and load up the team. But you can see we've got, the name, the role, how much experience, what that skill set is across the different team members. That's your step one. And what's really cool, I think, about it from this sort of wisdom perspective is it's going to now look at what you set up and ask you any clarifying questions. So in this case, notice the team composition. Do you have a visual designer or not? Or do you have a tester or not? Right? So whatever clarifying questions come up, you'll answer, and then it will learn from that. Okay, so then the next one is your tech stack. So again, I'm just going to input a sample here for the demo because I always like to have a demo version. So again, here, looking at the tech stack, do you have any test automation tools, any frameworks in place, right? Whatever clarifying questions the AI comes up with, you can answer here and it will learn. So now it knows a little bit more about the tech stack. And then you can upload your PRD. So whatever shape or form the product manager has created, here comes the PRD. I'm just going to load a sample one for purposes right now. and then it'll analyze that PRD, but of course you could upload your own. And again, it's going to try to find gaps in the PRD. So I think this is also a really good step to have. So now it's going to say, okay, did you miss any compliance issues? Never happens, right? So here you go. It's going to ask you those questions. I'll just say no here. And it will learn, if you have those kinds of needs. And then it's going to generate user stories. So it's got stories, it's got points, it's assigned it to people, making these estimates, right? And here's the detail. So what's going to do is if you edit, it's going to watch what changes you make. So there's a before and after. So as a product manager, if I come in here and say, oh, no, that's all wrong, then the AI is going to learn from that and then book that into the next time it writes the next story. So everything here should be smarter and smarter versus me sort of sitting in on the scrum or doing something else like that to kind of say, hey, what about this? Or actually, it should be different. So so there's got the user stories that are all set. Going to export it into, your tool of choice. And then the next step would be to bring that information back in for kind of a virtual retro. So then the AI will learn again from any other changes as the development happen. So that is Rodeo. Your question?
Awesome.
Great.
That was good.
And it's set up to Supabase in the back end. And I think that's about as far as I went.
Awesome. Great job. Okay.
Good luck.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to hear? Well, first, here, you got a medal. And would you like a book, What Do Product Managers Do? Okay, cool. There you go. All right. The in-person team is catching up. I like it. Right. It's good. Here we go. Okay. I'm just saying. All right. AI-driven CI/CD pipeline. You can share your screen. Oh, there it is. We're ready. Intelligent DevOps pipeline automation. Who would not want that? Come on.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent.
So digging deep into the details. So my project is aiming to leverage an AI-driven end-to-end CI/CD pipeline. So this whole this pipeline can be integrated with multiple cloud platforms like AWS, GCP, and Azure. And this is like it prioritizes security and also provides the AI analysis and real-time monitoring. So what exactly does this application do? So it just so what we do is like we integrate this application with GitHub or GitLab. So it's basically integrated with Git, and this application will detect the code base, like the code language, whether it's Python or Node.js or like Java, and depending on that, it will design the infrastructure and scan the security, like do the SaaS, like static application scanning, dynamic, and also the secret detection. And depending on that, it will come up with test suits and do the deployment and also monitor at the same time. So when we go to cloud providers, it integrates with AWS, Azure, and GCP, as I mentioned. So here it also provides the insights of cost, performance, and security when we are going with a template. But here the good part is we can also customize the infrastructure and get all these details as we need it. And going back to the security, so here, as you can see, like the static analysis, dynamic analysis, and also the secret detection. If we are going with any secrets, we can check everything here, and the like the priorities as well. So that's one thing. And so for secrets, I integrated with this with Supabase. So like all the secrets, the API keys and everything will be stored in Supabase. So the good, actually using this vibe coding, I was able to implement this single sign-on with Azure AD and also Okta, like in no time. So this is also good. And my application can come up with integrate with multiple tools like CI/CD tools like Jenkins, GitHub Actions, GitLab CI, Azure DevOps, and going to the infrastructure, you can also integrate with Terraform, Ansible, Kubernetes, Docker, like for the containerization part, and version control, GitHub, GitLab, and analysis. It provides all the monitoring reports of the pipelines overall. So yeah.
All right. Looks very full featured, my friend.
Thanks.
Yeah. Did you do this all today?
Yeah.
That's amazing. And the Okta integration is working?
It should. I mean, we should be able to pull some API keys.
That's cool. I'm just curious. And what was the other one you did?
Azure.
Azure. Cool. Awesome. Great job. That's cool. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Let's give it up for Frontier. Okay. That's super cool. Okay. Next up is Kiva.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shiham. I work at Kiva. It's a nonprofit where people can fund the small business ideas for people around the world. And this idea is for parents to use with their kids to teach them social responsibility. So they can come in here and experience Kiva together with their kid and build empathy. So you can go in and start helping, choose a region. And I'm going to change the focus. You can change it to South Asia, for example. And you can then click, see the story of a real person, click learn more. And it summarizes her story, learning a little bit more about the country, cultural highlights, fun facts, and then you can learn about the challenges that people might face in that region. For example, what might be the biggest challenge for her in her pottery business. Understand her daily life, or in the process build empathy for people in other regions. And then have a conversation with your parent and talk a little bit about if you put yourself in the shoes of someone who is someone from a low-income country and trying to build a business. You can use the microphone, otherwise you can type in something. And then what are things you can do to help this person? And in the end, support them. And that's it. It's not hooked up with data because I haven't figured out how to do that yet. But I think it's enough to share this with some parents and high net worth individuals who are interested in using Kiva in this way.
That's great. Awesome. Yeah. And if you do want to hook it up, I mean, you can use the Supabase if you want, like the other team did if you're just looking for some database on the back end. If there's other integrations, you can do that too. So awesome. Great job. All right. Cool. Next up, Path to Green. Mark, here we go. Give it away, Mark.
Yeah. Thank you. So the concept here is this is an app that is a web app that really works with a local utility like PG&E, for example, look around here. And so I've got a full app here, but the idea is that without doing anything, the system is accessing your historical utility, electrical usage data, information that's public about your house, and pulling that all into the app, weather data, and providing you in your bill, the bottom of the bill, a view of what are some 3 things that you could do to improve the energy efficiency of your home, and what is the payback to you of doing that. And so not having to do anything, this is just information that's going to be delivered to you. And I'm not sure these numbers are exactly correct. They look a little high to me, but not inconceivable, actually. I've just gone through this myself with my own home, and they were in the 5-figure range, actually, sorry, 6-figure range. So, it's not too far off, but not doing anything, this is the information that's provided on your bill. And then you have the option to either go in and refine the estimates, because some of these are things that are forecast that may not exactly be right. How much insulation is in your house is in public data. So you can refine it, or you can just click the button for get 3 quotes. So the idea is make it easy. You know the information, and then it's easy to follow up and execute on this project. So make it very easy to proceed and get these benefits for yourself. So, because, lived experience, I've been going through this myself.
it took, weeks and weeks of time to do these estimates. Why should I need to go through all that effort to find out what the benefit is for me? Make it easy for me to do that just by providing that information, and then I'm incentivized to do that. Make it easy to do that. So that's the concept. Yeah.
Great. All right. So here's the medal. And would you like a copy of what do product managers do? All right. Good. There you go. Thanks a lot. Cool. Okay. You know what I love is like people like building apps. It's like when the iPhone app store opens, like there's an app for that. Well, now you can like create your own personalized app for whatever. Someone was telling me like, I want a miles tracker, but I want to track it this way. Like you can do, whatever, your pet tracker, whatever you want, right? You can build whatever you want. Super exciting days. Okay. FinPet, they have to leave. So FinPet.
Hi, everyone. So let's do a show of hands. Have you ever felt stressed when you used any type of banking, personal finance app? Ever? Yes? Plus one. So that's why we built FinPet. It is your personal AI companion. It is going to be your pet. It's a gamified app, a personal finance app, where you can see your level of progress, looking at your financial health, through looking at your expenses, how much you spend, how much you save, what you're investing in, and then also your transactions. Yeah. And then I can hand it over to my partner.
Sure. We had a pretty detailed Vibe PRD. So it generated all this for us, including setting your financial saving goals, even eventually maybe a investment marketplace friendly for beginners. And of course, to gamify more, we have a leaderboard. And of course, the confetti you're seeing. And of course, one last feature I want to show you. I'm really impressed by this. You could customize your pet and it will save it right there for you. And then with this, and you see if I go back, it's actually going to show the pet. But yes, I was a UX designer, so it was wonderful to work on this. And thank you, my partner, for the idea. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Very fun. Okay. Definitely nice to see some fun apps. Here you go. Y'all want a book on what product managers do? Okay. There you go. Yeah, thank you. All right, cool. Yeah, great. Okay. Sorry, so we'll go back now. Great job. Nice to see a fun mobile app like that. Chris Young, SFA Passage Planner.
Yeah, so one of the, I picked up a hobby a couple years ago, which is like sailing. So it's actually not too inaccessible. You can join a sailing club, pay a little money, get some lessons, and then go sailing. I live in the San Francisco Bay, and so it's a fairly kind of niche market that I'm aiming this app for, but it's basically people who sail on the San Francisco Bay. It's one of the best places in the world to sail. It's also very challenging. It's one of the challenges, and then the problem that I'm going after in this like very lightweight app is to sail safely. Like, so let's say you want to take a sailboat underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. Let's say that's a very cool thing, but you have to kind of analyze a bunch of different data and put a whole bunch of stuff together to see like how relatively safe is it. So today you can do this via few different apps or sites, but you have to manually do several things and then kind of do some mental gymnastics to decide, hey, can I actually cross, or could the conditions be maybe marginal? So what I attempted to do here is mash up three of the most key variables, which are the wind speed, the tidal current flow, like how fast is the current moving, and then also the tide is incoming or outgoing. And it's not really doing it, but ideally you would come up with, you would calculate, unsafe times and safe times and display it in this little app. So, per the today's date, we are currently in an unsafe time because the current is going one way, the tide is going the other way, the wind is high, and this is made up data, of course. But so these would be the, at a glance, you could see, okay, you don't want to go out between 6 and 8 a.m. or 12 to 1400 hours here or this time, but and then safe time to be here. And then you've got your kind of common tide table, which is also like a common thing you want to see. So that's really it. It's it's trying to match up data from like the weather service, NOAA, so on. But I couldn't get that to actually work, so all the data is mocked. But it's like an MVP.
Awesome. Well, I can just tell you, I used to have a sailboat on the bay, and I would look up the tides. I had to look them up because it will make a difference on the currents as well. So that's awesome. Super cool. Next up is Movie.
All right. This app was born out of frustration with the Apple Fitness Tracker. As somebody who's very likes lots of different exercises, doesn't have an Apple Watch, don't have a Fitbit, don't want one. Just found it very tedious to enter my my activities. But I still like the motivational parts of it, and so I wanted really lightweight fitness tracker for somebody who's not a hardcore athlete, just wants sort of to track progress and have gentle prompts to exercise regularly. So I worked with Joy and Lisa, who already took off. We also wanted to use this voice prompt to make it super simple to enter activity. So you click on the voice prompt and you say, I would play pickleball for an hour today. And it literally records what you said. But if you didn't get it quite right, you can edit it and say, I played pickleball for an hour today. And it gets it, it's pretty close. And you can keep using the voice prompt to add more activities. And it also allows you to set a weekly goal in minutes or number of sessions. And then we'll continue to track your activity until you reach your goal. And then it'll give you some positive feedback, confetti, animations, to motivate you to keep moving more.
So how do you do the text?
How do you do the text to that text? Yeah, the voice.
I literally said we wanted to use a voice prompt.
Yes.
Yeah. That was it.
Okay. Great. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Awesome. Great job.
Thank you.
There you go. Would you like a book on what do product managers do? Okay, great. Awesome.
Okay, so one team got the voice to text working. That's great. All right, Movie. That was good. Okay, next up we have Summary Bot.
All right. So I've worked often in my career with lots of different kinds of people who do research, B2B. And the basic problem is they have to look at lots of similar types of documents. In this case, I picked SEC 10K filings, and they kind of have to ask the same question of every document. So GenAI is kind of cool because you can develop prompts that, can ask that question of every document. But if you watch it in practice, it's often very clunky. Because you have to either put the prompt in and then cut and paste the output. So I was kind of playing with what's a better way to do that. So if you can imagine over here, these new 10K filings are effectively like your new information that you have to do some analysis on. And these regulatory and competitive risk factors are effectively custom prompts that I developed and could develop as a user by creating a custom prompt. I can effectively hit generate, and it will just start generating. In this case, the prompt effectively says something like, do a 3 to 5 bullet point overview of the regulatory risk factors, or I did the same thing for competitive risk factors in 10Ks. So you can just sort of, go through this list. You could imagine this is almost like your alert notification list, and add the ones that are relevant to you. You could hide the ones or dismiss the ones that you don't want to see. And you could go to the source link if you needed to look at the whole document. We also know researchers and analysts feel a need to be in control. They're still somewhat skeptical of GenAI. So there is the ability to edit these if you wanted to.
And then the last problem that I see a lot is actually, okay, great, I did this. Now what? It's all going to have to end up in a report or something like that. So you can effectively select the cards and summarize if you wanted to, and create like little output. In this case, it's the competitive risk for the companies I chose. And it's going to tell me what's similar and a little bit about what's different. So that's kind of a summary bot.
I like it.
Thanks.
Makes sense if there's a repetitive task of having to go through, a bunch of 10Ks. I get it. All right. Cool. Okay. Next up is Rehab Assist.
Hi, everyone. So Rehab Assist. So if you've ever been in a situation where you're a fitness enthusiast and an athlete and you often run into injuries, that's where this came from. So I've been in most of the time very frustrated, without getting doctor appointments for just physical therapy assessment, or sometimes even if we get physical therapy appointment, you only get to do certain sessions. And after that, you're asked to just follow up all by yourself. So I'm often wondering, how long this is going to take. Am I really going to go back to my workout? Am I really going to go back to do that sport? So I want to get something, that gives me confidence, that shows the progress, and that gives me, some type of confidence that, I'll get back and do this and get stronger. So I tried this app both in Bolt and Magic Patterns. Magic Patterns work very good for the UI. Bolt, I ran into a lot of errors. So we'll see with the demo. So this is the home screen. As you can see, just talks about what is this rehab assistant. And I've got some success stories, and, also tells you that it provides personalized rehab plans, guided exercises, progress tracking, and also some injury prevention techniques. So, at the starting, it's, you create your rehab plan. You cannot tell us about your injury. Choose the area of injury. So I'm going to choose neck. And, I have both voice input and text-based input. I believe the voice input should work on Chrome, because Chrome is the only one which has got the API integrated. But if you're using Firefox, it's not going to work. So I'm going to try, the voice input. Yeah. So I'm a tech employee, and I often do my job sitting in front of laptop, and, I'm prone to neck injuries from time to time. So it's that. And I also have an upload relevant document. So in case if you have, documents from your doctor or like physical therapy, so you can just upload it. And I was also planning to do something like, recommendations from physical therapy, keeping the idea in mind that maybe this could be something the hospitals can have in the future. So I'm going to generate the plan. And this is the suggestions. So it's a personalized recovery plan based on what you input. So I've got some guided videos here. I'm just using static videos. So, I have embedded those videos inside, and it should just play. Those are YouTube videos. I've made sure it's embedded in all the videos, and I think I've limited it to like 0 to 3 or something like that. And I've also said here do's and don'ts, because it's very important when you are through injuries, you should not do certain things. So I've mentioned that. And the next important part is, I want to track my progress. Like, when will I be recovering? And also, whether I'm completing something on a day-to-day basis. So I have something here right now. This is manual, but I was in the idea of maybe having a variable or something to track this. So let's say, my pain level was 5 and I completed my exercise. So save the progress. And I have my progress tracking dashboard, which gives me a sense of really, some type of date that I could tell that, hey, I'm looking forward to getting recovered and I'll be back to my workout. So that's this. And I also have my activity. Okay. Prevention tab. This is more to do with, even if you're good and you want to just find out some video tutorials or some guidance around how you want to prevent injuries, this is for that. And I again have embedded some videos here. And I also have, based on your injury type, you can get some guidance, like, if it's knee or neck or whatever it is, you get some prevention-based techniques or videos. So that's about it. And I also added some notification here, and user login was one of the things I was going to try after this.
Nice. Awesome. I can see you put a lot of thought into it. That's awesome. I appreciate it. And I can relate. Yeah, you go to rehab once or twice. Oh, yeah, metal. And then would you like a book? Okay, cool. Then they just leave you on your own. So that's great for follow-up. And I love how you got the voice working. Good job. I got 2 people. Yeah, take one. Let's give it up. Jorge's got to leave it. But thank you very much, Jorge, for all your help. Appreciate it. Yeah. All right, take it. Good luck with the workshop tomorrow. Okay. All right. We only got a few left here, guys. All right, cool. So next up, that's a no demo. Good. We skipped that one. We did FinPet. Next up, we have about like five or six left. Sendbot.
So Sendbot, the name needs a little bit more work. So it's kind of a placeholder for now. But essentially what this is a Slack bot. Think of it kind of like your communication co-pilot. I got this idea because, I've been a remote worker for all of my kind of corporate career. And I know a bunch of us here work in like remote and hybrid environments where we're constantly interfacing with other people through like Slack or Microsoft Teams. I just want you to think back to like, when is the last time where you've worried about like potentially saying something that could have been interpreted as like passive aggressive, or maybe straight up aggressive, or too obsequious, or like you and your manager, right? Like there could be some differences there. Like you're trying to use a crying emoji to convey that, something is funny. And then your manager's like, why are you crying? So I just wanted to the goal of this was just to kind of like bridge those differences in workplace communication, and offer real-time feedback, and flag messages that maybe like aren't being interpreted by your colleagues the way that you think they're being interpreted. So an example of this, I just had like an example conversation with myself really in this test workspace. So like if I said to my manager, I don't know why I would, but if I said, hey manager, what's up dog, cowboy emoji, then Sendbot ever so wisely would say like, hey, maybe that's not the best idea. Maybe you instead want to say, hello, manager's name. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to discuss like whatever specific topic. And the nice thing about Sendbot is that it tells you like why they would, kind of alter your message. So in this case, the tone is too casual for a professional setting, particularly when addressing somebody that's like kind of higher up than you. So adjusting the language to be more formal will help maintain professionalism. You might think like that one's kind of an obvious example. So I tried another one. So, my manager says, can someone please print out the project timeline so we can review it together in the conference room tomorrow? I don't want to rely on just the online version. And then if I said print, LOL, I can just drop the Notion link here. It updates in real time. No one really uses paper anymore. Sendbot might flag that, being like, consider rephrasing. It's to say, instead of printing, I can share my Notion link here. And why this is helpful is because your initial tone may have come off as dismissive, especially to those who may actually like prefer printed materials. And, your use of like LOL and the emoji may seem kind of unprofessional. And so this is kind of like one or two like similar, I guess, the related use cases. The kind of broader vision for this is to have it be more like bi-directional in terms of the support it can give. So for example, if you're a manager and your direct report is saying like, NGL, it's high key time to full send this draft, no cap, then like you want to know what they're trying to say. Then the idea is that Sendbot can send you a private message being like, hey, this is what your direct report is saying. And here's like what that means in language that like makes sense to you.
So yeah, that's just
all right. Super cool. I love it. I love it. We actually, from the last hackathon, we had someone that did this generational text translator. You put in no cap, blah, 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 blah. And you say, so I want to translate from Gen Z to millennial or whatever. And it would like do so they won the most fun app last time. So that's, there you go. Martian to Venus. Okay. Good. Awesome. Great. That's cool. I like that. And just real quick, I'm trying to were you actually integrated with Slack? Or was that like a screenshot thing?
No, that was integrated with Slack, and I used Replit to make it.
That's awesome. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I saw someone use Replit. Nice. Cool. Super cool. So I get an example of like, getting a little more technical. That's pretty cool. Okay. So we did SendBot. Okay, cool. Next up is another BioTune, Magic Patterns. Carolina.
BioTune ideally is going to be a wearable application. Also, it's going to have an application for Android and iOS. This application will allow you to track your meals, workout, and health data to measure circadian rhythm and hormonal cycles. So you can have everything in one place. And ideally, this is the homepage. I try both. I try Lovable first, and I try also Magic Pattern. So I like better the results on this one. So I keep working on this one. So here you can see the features, the benefits, and how it works. And then if you click here, you can log into the application. And it's going to show you your dashboard here, where you can see your insights, your wellness score, a sleep score, and the stress score, and your energy level. And you can also have insight here on where is your morning peak, for example. And then you have sessions. And here you're able to schedule some of these sessions and your past history. And that's it.
Nice. That's cool. So can you actually, since you did it in 3, like, can you show the Lovable one, or the what was different about it?
Yeah, this one is the Lovable version.
Yeah. What was better about the Magic Patterns that you liked?
I think it was better structure.
Okay.
And also, I was able to export the patterns into Figma, so I can continue working on this.
Nice. Yeah. So again, that shows you that designer column. And then you said, did you try Bolt as well?
No. That's
just Lovable. Got it. Okay,
yes.
Great. Awesome. Great job. Yeah, it looks nice. Looks great. All right, cool.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. So round of applause here. Awesome. Okay, cool. All right. We got 3 left, folks. All right, good. Thanks, everybody. Okay. Nick, were you able to get your Magic Patterns up?
Yes, sir.
You guys are next. Excellent. Cool. So, yeah, I think what you were running into is if you wanted to deploy if you wanted to link it to a custom domain, it's kind of confusing. Sometimes the way they talk about it is more like deploy versus this.
All right.
All right, there we go.
So, yeah, this is where to go. Yeah, I know the name needs some work, but what this is all about is if you're trying to plan your next getaway, you don't really know where to go, it'll help come up with suggestions for you based off of your preferences. So first you start with your environment. You decide, like, let's say I want to go to an urban area, but I also like the mountains. Then you'd say next, and then you pick your activities of what's most important to you, where you could toggle them from 0 to 10, 10 being the best. Food scene, let's say that's really important to me. I'm going to put like a 9. Bars and nightlife, maybe a 3. Concerts, live music, maybe a 2. Sporting events, maybe a 2. Museum and culture, maybe like a 6. And then outdoor and trails, so say that's really important to me. I'm going to say an 8. And from there, since I rated food high, I would choose which cuisine I most like. Like, I'm going to say Mexican, Chinese, and say seafood. And then from here, I enter my zip code, and it asks me if I prefer the drive or travel. Let's say in this case, I just want to drive. I want to save some money. And it's going to give me all the places I go that fit my criteria that are within a 13-hour drive of Salt Lake. So San Francisco would be the number one match. We also have these other cities like San Diego, Santa Fe, based off of, my preferences, like the outdoors and everything. So I select, and here it tells you why it's a match: food, museums, bars, but you could go in and dig deeper. It tells you what cuisine's really good there. Also tells you the ratings, the activity scores, and any upcoming events that I might care about. Like, oh, there's a beer week in February. And there's this big music festival coming up in August. So that's it in a nutshell. You could also go and edit your preferences and start over if you want. But yeah, that's it.
Nice, Nick. Looks great. Awesome. Super cool. All right, great. Okay, cool. Thanks, Nick. Great. All right, let's go. Let's see. We got 2 left. Mealmate.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Okay. So we all are busy parents, right? And we need quick ideas to just cook. So that's where Mealmate is here to help us. So we would need to first give our overall preferences, where dietary preferences, we could give that. And then who are we cooking for? So it could take in those inputs. And then which cuisine do we prefer? So parents can choose that. And then once we have all the preferences in, then we could basically give inputs on what do we have in our house. So, just open the fridge and take a photo. It'll scan what do you have in your kitchen. And then there are some things where it's somewhere hidden behind in the pantry, but we know that we have it. So we just add it. We just tell it that, this is what I have in my house. And based off of those, potatoes and cheese. Okay. It should ideally basically add it in the ingredients. And then once based on the ingredients, it would happen here. Is it here? Okay. Cool. So it gives us certain recipes, options, and maybe this is what I want. Based off of that, it'll tell us what ingredients do we need to use, give step-by-step instructions of how can we make it. And then if you are health conscious, you could also look at the nutrition facts. Yeah. Anything you guys wanted to add?
Yeah, no, pretty much that. And one of the things we haven't made working here was to say, can you do hands-off cooking by having it say each step to you while you're cooking, so you don't have to keep looking at the screen. In the homepage design, for example, just to go back, I felt like it does a very rudimentary job with a few iterations and needs a lot of work in terms of really information architecture, or even combining content and stuff. And so a lot of design usability issues at this point is what I felt from the version that it generated. But giving it more context and kind of those things might be helpful to take it to Figma.
What I would say is it's going to pick some default information architecture.
Yeah.
And again, it's going to be able to change 10, 15 degrees. You're not going to be able to change. So if you don't like it, that's the kind of thing where I would actually provide it with you can just do a sketch. You can provide it can be literally a sketch that you scan, or it can be a PowerPoint or anything. Or you guys have,
we did
click
that.
On it. Go for it. Yeah, click on it. Okay. This one?
This one.
So let's see what we got.
Yeah, so if you go to this one, we gave it the basic.
Okay, great. Okay.
So it did a great job of generating that right away, all the levels and clicks, in general, a flow. But then this is very basic, right?
Yeah.
So then how does it build this? Needs more of that sketching or more refinement.
You need to provide it. If you have an opinion, you have a strong opinion, especially, you need to provide it. Yeah, that's great. Cool. Okay, well, but that's a great, I'm glad you showed this, because even a simple sketch like that helps it have more context to do it.
It made our life very easy, because it just took that and created the whole thing.
And I see this is a whiteboard photo. Awesome. I love it. Sweet. Yeah, exactly. Awesome.
From a business standpoint, what we think is, okay, we're gonna get in the value really fast, and then we are going to kind of onboard the user because we are only given like 3 options.
Right.
So if he wants more or if she wants more, we can start moving. There. But I was impressed with that, and also with the voice recording. I never done that before. It was really good.
What was the voice recording?
Like
multiple people. That's great. That's awesome. Cool. Okay. And then you want it to read back to you too, right? When you're cooking. Yes. So there's a cool startup called 11 Labs that has. You can pick the voice that you want. You want a soothing, slow voice from the sound, like whatever you want. It's like they were getting really fancy on the opposite of voice. It's a text to voice. They're getting really fancy. Awesome. Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, here we go. All right. It's for you guys. Yeah, please let's clap it. The applause is getting smaller as people are fading out here. Do you guys want a book? Have you seen this before? Okay. It's a very good book. All right, good. Okay, cool. They might just be tied together. Yeah, we had a question?
Yeah, so that's that. Do you upload it and then it covers the structure of the website?
Yeah.
Then it goes like the
L2 was like the
level 2.
It's so basic. It took it all by itself. Yeah. Actually, it understood these are the 3 levels. We only had to tell it like, hey, we don't want value props in the first version, let's say. So then it created everything, but then it omitted those stuff and we just refined it further.
Got it. Take care.
Very little text. We just said level 1, 2, 3. And it just understood on its own.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, again, you don't have to over-explain. You can under-explain, but you don't have to over. But a picture, it can usually figure stuff out. So, so that's great. So you can see, I love this because this is an example, which is a little sketch. You're giving it more context. Because otherwise, you just roll you're rolling the dice. Who knows what layout it's going to come out? 3 column, 2 column. Who knows what it's going to do, right? So anyway, all right, cool. Last one of the night, guys. Here we go. I think is Clear My Sense. That's you. Okay, come on up. Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Idea of helping multi-stage initial.
Yeah.
Is there any benefit that being this sequential?
Here's the first layer, and then the next prompt. Here's the second. Or would you rather give them the whole thing?
I think it depends how broad it is, right? So like if we just take this, right? So it's a simple sitemap. It's like there's onboarding, and then you get into the home. And I think they said skip this, if I heard you right? Right. So, okay. And so it's 1, 2, 3 areas. And then you go down 1 level here. So this, the scope of this is not that big. And there's a level 3, right? So, right. And I mentioned the other example that I did the other weekend where they did 4 levels down, right? Dashboard, doctor page, patient page. And it was like basically they went down. So I think as long as it's not too big, but the interesting thing is, it begs the question: who's going to identify the IA, you or the tool?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there's only 2 choices.
I think it's a mix.
It could be a mix, but if I had to bet, I'd bet on the human doing a better job than on IA specifically. Right? Now you could say, and that's actually, so just to close the loop, remember before, guys, when I said that one of the things about magic patterns is it lets you explore, right? And it actually did 4 different divergent things. There we go. Okay, it's one of these. Yeah, there we go. Cool. It's this one. It's this one. Okay. Let me pull it on the right screen. Okay, here we go. So remember I said it said, hey, what do you want to do divergent thinking on? So /inspiration, road mapping tool. It actually came up with 4 different, let me make this a little smaller here. 4 different things. So it did this one, like this, right? It did a Kanban one that's more like, those are pretty similar. I don't really get, so the only difference is these are quarters and this is like phase. But they're both Kanban in my mind. And then it did more like a strategic roadmap view like this. And then it did one trying to be more like a Gantt chart, right? So magic pattern is the only one that I know that can diverge. So that would be between the two of us, we'll figure it out. Maybe it can help you. That's the only, none of the other tools are going to help you with divergent thinking about IA per se. Right. And again, what I would do, I like human in the loop. I would do this, and then it'd say, okay, and it would help me explore the solution space. And I might not pick any of these four. I'd be like, oh, but now that I've seen these, now I know what I want. It's a fifth version that's like some of this and some of this, right? So that's the idea. But I think at the end of the day, again, it's great when you get a basic UI or IA because you had nothing. So, you got to be grateful for that. But as you get into it more and more, you might realize, oh, this is limiting now because now I want to add some new pages that it doesn't really fit in with the nav that well. And I need to restructure, right? And then again, now you just realize you went down this dark path into the woods and you're like, oh, I got to go all the way back there to where I made the IA decision. And I need to go back. You know what I mean? So you just have to decide. But that's the thing is you're exploring to figure things out. You're backing up once you make some decisions. You're going forward. You're going back. That's kind of what you do. So, but I think in general, to answer your question, when you've got complex UI or IA, you kind of need to figure some of that stuff out. I actually like to explore a lot just with that in the UI before we even get into a lot of the details of stuff. And that I guess is what you're getting at is, like I was building something where there was one UI component that I wanted to work a very specific way with drag and drop and certain behaviors and things like that. I just focused on that one component. I didn't worry about anything else in the app because I just wanted to get that one thing right. And then I could just plug it into whatever I wanted to plug it into.
So I did this the first time. It was a lot of fun. And what I kind of took away from a design perspective is IA is definitely like the bigger picture version, but then doing maybe task flows at a micro level, or user mental models.
Exactly.
Really set the context very crisp.
Which is why, if we go back, I'm glad you said that. If we go back to this, I said, what is the underlying object model? It's not so much the engineering data. It's more just like, okay, it's a customer. They've got a rehab plan. They've got an exercise. The exercise needs a pain metric from 0 to 10, like that kind of stuff, right? And then here, what flows, right? So we're focusing on IA because these are kind of more static-y websites. But if there was a workflow, again, it's not going to crush it. There's no way it's going to crush the workflow. If you're creating some workflow, it's going to put an okay average guess out there, right? And if you start there and try to tweak it, you may not be able to get it to where you need it to be. You might need to say, all right, we need to take a step back to get there. All right. So great. Good discussion. I'm glad that prompted that discussion. Let me switch to, thanks. Okay. Last but not least, clear my sense. Maya?
Yeah.
All right. Come on up. Here we go.
Hello. So basically what I created, it's called Sensible. It's basically budget tracking. Like in my case, at least, I open my phone because I have multiple cards or multiple bank accounts. I have no idea what I've spent on last month. So this is what this is trying to solve. So if I just log in, again, I have the most creative passwords. So what I can do here, I can upload data. For now, I'm just going to use sample data. And what this will do is it's going to tell me my budget, how much I've spent, what's remaining. And it allocates kind of specific, or I have already chosen specific budgets for each of my main categories, whether it's housing, food, and so on. And I can see what I've spent on so far this month. I kind of keep going down. I can see, for example, am I spending more on groceries or eating out or DoorDash, for example? And now, of course, the accuracy of this, I think, needs a bit of work, and probably the actual data and how you build in your budget. That's probably kind of next things if I was to improve this. But all in all, I was super impressed by how it was able to take a dummy data, right, from a CSV file, a simple idea, and really create a web interface. This is something also that I put in that Srini suggested that was great, which was, hey, if I want to save a few dollars, what does this look like? And so for this, I'm still working on this, the OpenAI integration. What does that look like? How can you put in some money and then maybe it tells you, hey, you've spent more than 30% on housing. Most people would spend less than that. Maybe this is something to save money, or DoorDash versus kind of eating in. things like that to kind of do a bit more analysis.
Awesome. Great. Super cool.
Oh.
All right. Thank you. Here we go. Now, would you like to book? What do product managers do? Okay, great. All right. And I just want to thank everybody who demoed. I know it's, but it's pretty amazing if you think about, we started a while ago, but like what you got done and what you're able to iterate. And so, same thing when we did this in July, people were so excited, and then a lot of them kept working on their projects. So I appreciate everyone's focus and dedication. So thank you very much, everybody. Last round of applause. Thank you.